Hello, everyone. How is everyone doing today? Got this, just waiting to see if my voice is being heard across the internet. Uh, Hopefully, the tech stuff I had some issues with my microphone, which was just not operating at all. Turns out you just gotta plug it in or unplug it and plug it back in. That's, the secret to all tech problems, isn't it? But yeah, we are live. Here we are, and it's so lovely to see everyone today. I am sitting here in what is this weather? I feel like I'm in a white void because there's so much fog right now. Just fog as far as the eye can see. But still, it's a lovely day, and we're gonna have some fun. We're gonna talk about some stuff. Uh, First thing I want to do is I probably should share this tweet on or this video on or this stream on Twitter to see if we can let the people know what's up. Uh, Anyone who follows me on Twitter is probably aware there was a tweet yesterday that kind of got some attention. I want to talk about that a little quickly before we get started, but first, I'm just going to write this message so everyone can on stream to discuss a cool story about an MLM called. I'm typing here and I'm just narrating it for some reason, but okay. There we go. Okay. I feel like that's good. That's good. We're gonna get to the cult story. That's gonna be our main event. So we're gonna be building up to that. First, I feel like I should talk about. I had a tweet that went viral yesterday. Like my goodness. I've not had a tweet blow up quite like this one did. If you hadn't seen it, I think you'll enjoy it because it's very funny. Let me just quickly switch the thing here. There we go. So we can see me. It's just a little dunk on our friend Tim Pool. He tweeted yesterday, I went to a diner with my girlfriend and was told it was a 20-minute wait. After only a few minutes, a couple walked in and was seated right away. I complained and left right away. I don't tolerate bullshit, and I don't tolerate people who think I should care when they do. So I responded, when someone forgets to make a reservation, because, I feel like that's probably it. And look at that. Over 144,000 likes. That's wow. I don't think I've had a tweet really go quite that viral. And I feel like I have to address the controversies and the criticisms. One criticism I saw that was like, people don't think you can get reservations at a diner. You can though, especially if this is a diner that's so popular that it has 20-minute waits. I think it probably takes reservations. That's just, I think, common sense. But not every diner does. I'm well over that. In the same way, not every restaurant takes reservations either. It's also possible, that this couple had arrived earlier and was told it'll be 20 minutes, and then they went for a walk and had just come back, and Tim, thinking everything's a conspiracy against him, decided to complain about that. I just think this is a funny tweet. He's not the brightest guy, and it was weird because when I made that tweet, I got a bunch of notifications because a lot of people were like liking it and sharing it, whatever. That's cool. And then I went about my day, went back to editing a video, went out, and then when I came back, I logged onto Twitter, saw it still getting numbers. I'm like, that's cool. That's fun and exciting. But for some reason, Tim had made several tweets about not me specifically, but trying to defend this tweet and talking about, they don't take reservations at diners. He didn't mention the specific one he went to, of course, and I don't know. He seems really upset about it, which to me is very funny. Although he tried to say people who are mocking him are outraged by his tweet. No one's really outraged by this. I just think it's very funny. It's one person was saying it was bait, which made me laugh. It's this weird kind of trolling that's become fashionable that I really don't understand, where someone will make a fool of themselves. Everyone will laugh and they'll be like, oh, well, did you not realize I was doing all of that on purpose? It's like someone walking into the middle of a crowded room, shitting their pants, And then everyone laughs. It's like, oh, you accidentally shit your pants. And they laugh and go like, oh, you didn't realize I did this on purpose. It's like, you're still the person with shit in your pants, whether you did it on purpose or not. So, uh, yeah, funny stuff, I think. And I will say there's outrageous things about him, like when he spreads bigotry, right wing propaganda, and all this other horrible stuff he does on the daily. But uh, this him being bewildered by a reservation is not one of those things that's outrageous. It's just funny, and a lot of people are like, I did like the number of people who are dubious that he has a girlfriend. I had heard he had a girlfriend a few months back. There was like a clip where he kept mentioning he had a girlfriend like 3 or 4 times in a 30-second span, and it was like, okay, dude, okay, all right. But that was just I don't know. I just felt like addressing that right off the top because this was really funny, and I've never had a tweet go quite this viral. And yeah, today on the agenda, I wanted to talk about. We'll get to the MLM story. For those wondering which MLM, it is a multi-level marketing thing, not Marxist, Leninist, Maoist cult. But I think it's going to be an important and interesting story. But first, I want to answer a few questions I had. Anyone who saw my most recent video, before we start, thank you so much, Ayatollah of Kraut Rock and Rolla. The only people who have a problem with what you tweeted are delusional Tim Pool stands, and they are not the sharpest tools in the shed. Also, would you go on his laughable show if invited? Uh, I agree. A lot of the people who are defending him are his fans, and I gotta say, his fans have really weak defenses. A lot of them like crawled into my comments section because I had a little. You'll notice here, I of course promoted my work in the context of my tweet because why not? And they left really bad comments. I hate when people say like, "Oh, you're so wrong about this," and they never explain why I'm wrong. They just flatly say, "You're wrong. You didn't get it right. You misrepresented them." It's like, well, how? What am I wrong about? What did I misrepresent? Anyway, thank you so much, Ayatollah, for that super chat. That's very thoughtful. And someone asked when my next sitcom review is. I am currently editing together the next one. It's going to take a little while to come online because it's a big one, and I'm doing something a little different with this one because I'm doing a collaboration with another YouTuber. So my video will be its own thing, but there's going to be one little 30-second segment where I'd be like, and if you want to learn more about this particular part of the show, check out this person's video. And I think they're going to do a great job, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they do. But yeah, it's coming soon. I don't know, maybe I'll talk about it later on the stream. Thank you so much, Greg's Vlog Show. Just wanted to let everyone know I have a girlfriend. Good for you, Greg's Vlog Show. I am happy for you, and I celebrate your happiness. Best of luck with your girlfriend. Okay, so... Oh yeah, and I'm not going to be sharing the show yet. Or maybe later. I don't know. Maybe you guys can convince me to share it later. Or probably I just will. And it's not Frasier for the first person who guessed. I will get to Frasier eventually, but that's going to take a long, long time. Okay, so I have some questions I did want to address. My previous video was about the Babylon Bees comedy book. I almost went over that on stream because I thought it might be better as a stream thing, just going through the book. But then I was like, I can't read a whole book on stream. That's kind of not great. So I didn't want to do that. Instead, I made that video, and I reached out. There was like a thing in this one. It was my first time trying this. How about patrons ask me some questions and I'll answer them in the final video? That might be fun. So there were a few questions I couldn't answer in the video just because there were, I don't know, like 9 or 10 questions, and I think I answered like 3 of them. So I wanted to answer those questions because they are my patrons. They pay me some money. They deserve answers, basically. But first, Alex Maurice, thank you for the super chat. Did you know that Ben Shapiro is a first cousin to Mara Wilson? I actually did know that. Though they're not in contact, no shocker, I feel so sorry for her. She seems so kind. I don't know if we necessarily have to feel sorry for Mara Wilson. We all have bad cousins. And I don't think any reasonable person would put on Mara Wilson the horrible things Ben Shapiro says. Although, I wish he didn't have a bad cousin like him. But he's got to be related to somebody, I guess, doesn't he? Whew, okay. So let's quickly answer these questions. I'm going to be, since they're on my Patreon page, I'm just going to be reading them out and not putting them on screen. Because they're kind of long, and I don't know if people necessarily want their name shared on a stream. Someone pointed out that the Babylon Bee book uses the Microsoft Word default font because it's so lazy. I think that's So funny. I wish I could have included that in my video, but it was someone else who noticed that. Let me just quickly find these questions now. Someone asked, why do you think the Babylon Bee is so weirdly obsessed with Elon Musk? That's a good question. I think it's just a general fascination on the right with Elon Musk. He's one of those people who's just, he creates this illusion of the self-made man, even though, he inherited a ton of money from wealthy parents, started a business using not so great practices. And he's just so much marketing. A lot of his value is based on hype and the eventual adoption of electric cars. And I'm not saying he's completely nothing and worthless and hasn't done anything for the world, but he's certainly not the greatest guy who ever lived. And it's just, the myth of the self-made individual, I think, weighs pretty heavily, even though, he's not inventing the technology. He's not the Tony Stark stereotype that gets pushed upon him. He's a bad dude. So yeah, I guess that answers that. Another one was, do you really think they believe what they write about woke people? Or are they just trying to make the left look as bad as possible so that the conservatives discredit us? That's an interesting question. I think it's a bit of both. They exaggerate, but also they kind of believe it to a degree. Like, I know they're being absurd in their comedy, alleged comedy, but I think people convince themselves of a lot of what they push out. And I think a lot of people on the right, especially the more dishonest grifters out there, do to a degree believe what they push. You are who you pretend to be, basically. That's something that happens. And in the case of the Babylon Bee, I don't know, I'd have to get deeper into them as people, which I have no interest in doing to really answer that adequately. But I think it's a combination of having a political agenda and to some degree believing in that political agenda to, discredit the left. There was another question. This one, it doesn't really apply to the video so much, so I didn't want to include it, but it was still worth addressing. When they talk about, it was basically a question of, is it more important to disengage? What is more beneficial, disengaging with the right and saving our peace of mind, or being informed on the rhetoric that is being used on the right? As a general rule of thumb, my content has always been designed to punch up. I always look for targets that are bigger than me, because considering I do have a certain size in my audience right now, I don't want to expose them to people who are smaller. I don't want to be promoting smaller right-wing people who can sort of grow off, my attention and focus. So when I highlight these noxious ideas, I'm not too worried about spreading them around, because they're already popular. They already have a big audience. So in that case, I don't feel so bad about pushing back in that respect or exposing people to bad ideas. And I also think it's important that we understand where they come from, not just that they're wrong, but how they're wrong and the techniques they use. Because when someone, comes along and, I don't know, let's say someone like Tim Pool, our good buddy, goes off and he loses his beanie and loses his powers of being a complete idiot on YouTube, and someone else will replace him. He's filling a role. He's filling a need that an audience is demanding. He's not so singularly important that no one else could do what he does. I mean, there are dozens of people who do, and if he got out of the way, that's an audience that would be inherited by someone else, or maybe split amongst other people. So it's more important that people understand the role these people fill and what they do, as opposed to taking down an individual, right? That's what I hope my content gets across. Maybe I'm not always great at it, but I try my best. And that's why I think it's okay to address these people. So yeah, generally punch up and make sure you're teaching lessons about how to engage with right-wing content. Okay, do I have any other questions that I didn't ask? Because a lot of people... Oh, why do they always use the LGBTQ plus people as a punchline? That's a good question, and it's because they are weak and have very little power in modern society. In fact, they like to pretend that people in that community have a lot of power, so they don't feel bad or can be revealed as the odious, terrible people that they are. yeah, it's just picking on someone smaller with less power, and it's just been a long history of doing that with right wing people and reactionary movements. You attack the weak to make yourself look strong, and what are they going to do about it, right? I don't know if that was the best answer, but I don't know, it's just kind of straightforward. All right. I think those are all the questions, so I'm glad I have answered those. Now, next thing I had on the agenda there. Oh, someone is saying, can I say hi to Spoon? Whoever Spoon is, hi. I'm trying to keep up with the chat here. It's a little tricky. And someone asking me when am I going to take down Sam Cedar. There's nothing really to take down there. I mean, I'm sure I disagree with him on some stuff, but he's not. I don't know. They're better targets than Sam Cedar. Like if it's like Sam Cedar or Jimmy Dore, like come on, Jimmy Dore's so much worse. And in a lot of cases, when you choose a target on the left, you have to be selective. That brings up something interesting because I did that recent video on Jimmy Dore and the reaction was pretty intense. A lot, a lot of comments came in under that video. I had more comments under that video than almost any other video. It's got 1/4 or 1/4 of the views that say the Married with Children video has, but it has more comments, or about as many comments. Just everyone was exploding because once you go after someone on your own side, there's going to be overlap, and then there is a cost associated with that, I guess. It's funny because a lot of people showed up just to talk crap, and endless arguments on in the comment sections. Eventually, I couldn't keep up with the moderation for that one, to be honest. I had to delete hundreds of comments without even reading them because they were clogging up my filtered comment section, because YouTube was flagging people who would leave literally dozens of comments, and in those cases, whether they're defending me or defending Jimmy Dore, it didn't matter. I felt like I was doing that for a person's own good. If you are making this many comments under a YouTube video, you need to stop. You need a break, even if it's for something noble, like defending me, right? What a noble cause. So there we go. That video was something. But you know what? I'm going to go after someone else on the left today because I wanted to do something. I would never make a video about this because it's not worth making a video about, to be perfectly honest. And we're going to be talking about someone, and no one take this to mean that I hate this person or I'm calling them out. This is, I think, a good case example of the importance of being skeptical, even if you think the source is good or you see this person as generally on your side. It's important to take claims not at face value if they sound a bit extreme. And I'm going to take you a very quick example on how to debunk something. And let me just grab this link. And as you'll see from this very old tweet, I don't know, it's a couple months ago now. It's from our dear friend, Kyle Kalinske, who I've literally never spoken to. I don't watch his content. I'm not terribly interested in the guy in general, to be honest. It's no shade I'm trying to throw at the guy. I don't know. He's never been of super interest to me. But I saw this tweet and I thought it was exceptionally bad and it was absurd. To read it out, and you should some context. Here's some context. We all know Joe Rogan got in some trouble, right? Because there's that montage of explaining of him saying the N-word a lot, and there's actually a really good thread that details how he's highlighted a lot of racism on his show. Really bad stuff. But yeah, a bunch of videos eventually got taken down on Spotify, his podcast, where he allegedly said the N-word, and obviously they don't want that. Kyle decided to respond to this, and he said, "My 2018 Joe Rogan Experience appearance was censored by @Spotify. He didn't use any racial slurs in the episode. I railed against Saudi Arabia in it, and Spotify just happened to expand into the Saudi market at the exact time that coincides with the banning." And then he posts a little article here from the New York Post where he highlights it expanded its paid paid podcast subscriptions, it's being Spotify, in 33 more markets and enable podcasts for your users in Russia, Egypt, and Saudi Arabia. So, the number one most important thing when it comes to finding misinformation and starting a debunk is to notice something is amiss, something is afoot here. And this claim, I would hope people would think is a bit strange, that the Saudi Arabian government would intervene to take away this random YouTuber's appearance on the Joe Rogan podcast, right? Can we at least say, like, this sounds a little bit suspicious? We need more information. And he did go out and provided a source, an article in the New York Post. Let's open that right now. And so when I saw this, I was like, okay, what does this article say? This is strange. So, Spotify stock drops 20% on weak subscriber numbers amid Joe Rogan controversy. And if we read the top, Spotify on Wednesday forecast current quarter subscribers lower than Wall Street expectations, but executives sought to reassure investors that growth had not cratered even as it deals with the fallout from the controversy around the Joe Rogan podcast. Let's take a moment to read this super chat before I go on. Alex Maurice, I'm a former conservative and had to listen to my dad blasting Mark Levin on the radio, and he would pick me up from school. I still second guess myself, but I am now quite left leaning. You know what? Don't stop second guessing yourself. That's extremely important. You never know what you know until you really question and have some skepticism. But I'm glad you're on a better side, at least from my perspective. I hope you're happier and doing well, because that's a tough journey to make. And for Caught CCID, I maybe said that right. Thanks for the VDSs and silky smooth ASMR. You're very welcome. So let's go back to this. Now, the first thing that you should really notice about this is that this information this isn't all being announced at the same time. All the news you're getting in this article, of course, the most relevant stuff, the Joe Rogan thing, is at the top here. But we want to look at, this is a projection, right? This meeting comes in the context of greater Spotify news. Not everyone necessarily knows or follows business news, so I'll try to unpack this as best I can. But this is an overlook for the impending fourth quarter. So, for instance, they're talking about there's an interview with Reuters here, blah, blah, blah. When they're presenting this information about their quarters, this is a quarterly update, and every business will release quarterly updates every quarter, as you might have guessed. And in those updates, it'll be a sort of a look back of what they've done over the last quarter. This is something any publicly traded company has to do. It's legally, you have to share your earnings, and usually there'll be some press release that goes through it explaining why certain things happen. So for instance, when they're talking about, shares paired losses and we're down 3% to 9% after the initial shock, that's recent news. But they're talking about how this recent outlook overshadowed a fourth quarter revenue. So a lot of what we're reading in this article is information that's from the recent fourth quarter report. So all this stuff, these forecasts for the number of subscribers they're getting, and various changes that have been announced. This is all news from the last quarter. That means, so if we go back to this initial tweet, he says, Spotify just happened to expand into the Saudi Arabia at the exact time that coincides with the banning. Well, we're not talking about the exact time anymore. This news is talking about how Saudi Arabia, podcasts were enabled in Saudi Arabia, because it went into the Saudi Arabia market actually a few years ago. But it enabled their podcasts last quarter, not the exact time that coincides with the banning. So that right there should give you pause and go like, oh, it's not the exact same time. And if you read the article, that pretty much makes it clear. But you could ask yourself, well, when did podcasts go live in Saudi Arabia? I did a little bit of Google searching for that, and I found a pretty good source. I found this post on Reddit, and I feel like this was enough for me to call this bogus. There's actually better information that someone else found, but if we go to this Reddit post here, we'll notice that, oh, look, the Joe Rogan Experience, because Spotify podcasts are here. The Joe Rogan Experience, and this is in Saudi Arabia. And when was this? 6 months ago. Ooh, it's 6 months ago. So October of 2021. And this tweet was February 6th. So we're looking at a difference of over 3 months here. So when he said the exact time, he actually meant 3 months ago. I don't think he did this on purpose. I think this is just him not taking a moment to think about things, to look at, does the timeline map onto this? Like, would Saudi Arabia not just get this podcast pulled in its own country, but around the world? Really? And they were just what? Did they see this podcast and go like, oh, we want this down right away, but let's wait a couple of months. Then Joe Rogan will be exposed for saying the N-word. And then we'll pounce to make sure this Kyle Kalinske interview is no longer being seen around the world. Do you see now like the train of thought here, the logic? That doesn't really hold. It's kind of a fantastic story, right? It's silly. It's deeply silly and obviously wrong. Of course, that's how I disproved it, which is kind of a long way. There are other ways you could do this. For instance, you could have looked at the other guests that were pulled and found their episodes and like, did they even talk about Saudi Arabia? Or you could have looked at existing podcasts that are still up. Are there any prominent critics of Saudi Arabia who complain about the government at some point? That would be another way. Another thing, and this is something a person did, I don't know where that tweet is anyway, but someone actually looked up the episode and they found that in spite of Kyle saying that Joe Rogan didn't use any racial slurs, he actually did. He was reading the lyrics from a song that included the N-word, and that is exactly why it was taken down. Regardless of whether or not you think it was okay for him to say that, I personally don't think he should have used the N-word. I'll go out on a limb and say that. But that's almost certainly why this episode was taken down, because he used a racial slur, which was the stated reason. And there you go. That's how you debunk a claim that, on the face of it, is pretty outrageous. And I hope we all learned something today. And I feel like I'm going through my items today pretty quickly. We've already crossed off 3, and it's only 2:30. But luckily, we have the main event, because this was all preamble for the MLM story. Okay. Multi-level marketing. The way we're going to do this, is I want this story. This is a long story, a true story, one that happened to me. And I wanted to tell this story for a long time. This happened to me a long time ago. I honestly, I do not know how long ago it was. I just knew the time of year. It was January, February. It was definitely snowing. It was winter. It was cold. And when I tell this story, I want to do it on stream rather than make a video, because I think it's important that there is a degree of interaction. So I'm going to try and focus on the chat as much as I can and address. So if you have questions as we go along, I'm going to try and answer every one of them. Because one thing I'd like to make people understand about MLMs or any sort of cult-like movement like that is a lot of it is a confluence of a number of different variables. And I don't think my story is probably a lot better than most. I mean, spoiler alert, I'm going to come off looking pretty good, but it's anyone who doesn't, anyone who when you hear their story, you might think poorly of them. You absolutely shouldn't. Because a lot of the times in these stories, people will be like, well, how could anyone fall for this? How could anyone go down that road? And I'm going to try my best to explain how I ended on that road and how anyone could, and how it's usually people's circumstances and sometimes their good nature that's taken advantage of. And if you've had an experience yourself, I'd love to hear it. You can share it as freely as you would or would not like to in the chat. Again, I want this to be like a collaborative thing where we're all sort of talking to one another. I even made a little fancy little graphic for us. I spent minutes in MS Paint for this. So here we go. This is the cast of characters. This is right here. We can see the images are to protect people's identities. There's Danny, who is the Danny Samsung girl. That's that image. That's Joe from Little Women, Sophie Turner of Sophie Turner fame, and the boss. We'll get to him later. And obviously this is me. I don't have a name because I hope you all know who I am, right? But these are the 4 most important characters, but there are going to be a number of characters that come up, and I just have them here so people can like visually keep track of what's going on. But let's extend this a little and move me down here, and let's put a line. No, let's not put it there. Let's put it down here so I can move myself. This is me on the outside, and this is me on the inside of the MLM. And this is the structure that it's going to work. But before we start, I feel like I have to begin with where I was before everything went crazy. All right. So I had just finished school. This was university. I had just gotten my degree, and it was an interesting time in my life. I didn't really know what I was doing, what I was going to do. And also my heart goes out to you, John, who just said that your mother has been in several of them for like the last 30 years. It is really sad. A lot of people struggle with a lot of family members get trapped in this. And a lot of the people I saw in this, I felt honestly really bad for, mostly. And someone asking how old I am, I'm going to keep that information privileged. I was very young when this happened, though, and this happened many years ago, before I had a YouTube channel. Let's put it that way. So I was very young, looking for work, and when you're looking for work, you throw a lot of lines out to the sea. You know, you send resumes everywhere and hope that you get a response, right, with your brand new diploma and your education that's supposed to mean you're ready to start your career. So I saw one listing. I don't remember what it was. Oh, excuse me. I don't remember what it was exactly, but it was the idea of becoming a self-starter. The idea that you could go into this place, and if you're ambitious, you can really make it work. It's entry level. And I always, I was the sort of person who was never afraid of a bit of hard work. I thought, I will go in there, I'll go to any job and work hard, prove myself, rise the ranks, live the dream, which is not super accessible to anyone, really. You can see what the sort of naive person I was back then when it came to the realities of living under capitalism. But this is, someone just said, Jeff Ha, it's sad when those MLMs like Primerica are the only ones that respond. That's very true. And when you're trying to get a job and you have no real experience and just an education, it's sad. They're preying on people just like that, just like me. I was struggling to find a job because it's hard for recent grads, and it preys on that kind of anxiety, that fear that maybe I'm not going to be able to make it. Maybe I'm not going to be able to earn a living, and I'm gonna, I don't know, be relying on my parents for the rest of my life, or struggling to work minimum wage jobs. And Umar Soares just said, hope I said that right. They talked about you can be a manager, because that's how they got involved in Mary Kay. That wasn't something in the listing, but that was something that happened in the interview. And Windows 95, MLMs are inherently tied to the capitalist notion that anyone can work their way to the top. Absolutely right. It's kind of a weird reflection of capitalism, isn't it? That would have been a good angle for a video, but we're doing a live stream right now. Okay, so I'm just trying to catch up on these chat. Some people are out of college, offer the opportunity to sell knives door to door. There are a lot of places like that. There's so many opportunities. Someone asking, I'm starting about the MLM cult right now. So good timing. Ill state fishing. A lot of people asking questions here. I'm trying to keep up. So yeah, I saw this listing, and I thought, sure, let's go. They're calling me in for an interview. It sounds good. So I went in. the person I met with first, if I'm gonna like grab my little head here, was Sophie. Sophie was one of the managers here. Um, she was a nice person, and I got in there and I was like dressed up nice and proper and there for my interview. It was a cool office. That was my first impression of it. It was very, very clean, new. They said they had just moved in. It was in a kind of a weird part of the city to be in. Not downtown, but not like out in the middle of nowhere. It was just sort of near a very cool neighborhood, I'd say. If anyone is familiar with Toronto, it was near Queen West, which is, well, this was more West Queen West, but not going to go into too much detail about Toronto geography, but it was very cool. So you go down, I went there just waiting for my interview with Sophie. They were like blasting music. It was like Lady Gaga or something. I was like, wow, this is like a cool place. It's they presented themselves as a marketing firm. I'm like, okay, I can do marketing. I can do communications. Like as you can all tell here on my YouTube channel. Someone said Roncesvalles. No, it wasn't quite there. It was a little further east, closer to Dufferin. Like near Dufferin and King, that kind of area. Close to the CNE, basically. East, west, west, queen, south. That's accurate. So yeah, I sat there and I spoke to her, and she was very nice. She was very nice, and we had an instant rapport, which is always good in an interview, and I felt like I was connecting. And one of the first things that was kind of interesting, she talked about how their company was very big and had offices around the world, and they're rapidly expanding, and they want people who show the initiative and the effort and the drive could be managers within 6 months. People are working really hard, and this was all about showing your chops, showing that you're willing to do the hard work. And you sort of, when you hear stuff like that, I guess that was like my first warning sign. Like, you're going to be a manager in 6 months. But in some ways, they had a bit of an edge on me there, because I actually had been approached. Actually, it had been a few years prior, where it was like a management training program. Like, this was a legit one, had approached me. It was from a company called Blinds to Go, and they were like looking for young people to join their management program, and someone somewhere thought I would be a good fit for that. I would have had to leave school to do it, so I didn't. But that was actually a legit offer. And I thought to myself, yeah, management, that's something I could do. Like, I could be a manager. So I had that in the back of my mind for a long while. So by pure luck, they kind of tapped into that inflated sense of self-worth, let's say, because what right did I, a recent grad with my experience like working at a pizza place, basically, what right did I have to be a manager without going through, maybe if I went through an intensive program, maybe, but this was kind of weird. It was a weird call, right? So, right. I decided to hear this person out. This is Sophie again, seemed nice. And she wasn't like gonna hand me the job right away. She said, there's a second interview. I'll have to talk to my boss. But if, we're talking to a lot of people, we'll keep you in mind. So then later that day, I don't even know if I had made it home that night. I got a call from them saying, like, actually, you stood out well ahead of everyone else. We interviewed like 20 or 30 people. There were like 3 people we want to talk to now. So that put me in front of the boss. I'm not using his name because he has a really distinct name, and I feel like if I used his name, you'd be able to find him on the internet. I haven't looked for him in a while, but he's a guy who he's been talked about, let's say. And I went in and met with him for a second interview. This one was a little more intense. He kind of put me on my back foot, and he would ask me questions like, do I believe myself? Am I really willing to try? And am I really to put everything out there for this job? And I was ready to please. I was happy. I was anxious. I'm looking to start my career. I want to make it in the world. So I believed him, and I believed what he was telling me about, if you apply yourself and really put yourself into something, you have an opportunity to really build a career here. And what's more, you might be asking, what do these people do, right? Isn't that a fair question? This is another problem. They weren't selling products the way you would normally sell products. They were working with a charity, a legit, genuine charity, I don't want to say them because it's going to make the charity sound bad, that they were involved with these people. But basically, they had been hired as a charity that was collecting money for a number of causes around the world, particularly aid relief. Um, People who had suffered natural disasters. And the idea was I would be one of those people going door to door, asking for people to pledge money to help people who had been hit by tragedies. And like, even at that age, I was very much concerned with that sort of thing. A very good way to get anyone involved to say like, you're doing good for the world. This isn't just a job to make you a cog in the capitalist machine. You'll actually be earning money, or raising money, I should say, for worthy causes like this, which basically put me over the top and made me think these people are good people. Off the mark on that one a bit. And so I stuck around and thought like, okay, if they offer me something, I'll take it. And surprise, surprise. Oh, someone said, so like elephant in the room, are you going to avoid naming the MLM? Totally respect the decision if you are. That's the tricky thing. They had a name at the time, but they've changed it several times since then. And this is the really sinister, creepy thing. I never actually found out which MLM branch they were a part of. Like, this wasn't Primerica or Mary Kay or one of the many different MLMs out there. And isn't that creepy, huh? They're like chameleons. They just are out there. And so I can't really name them. I mean, they had like a generic name. It was like Toronto Marketing Association or some random thing like that, right? Like, it wasn't something that was easily traced. It wasn't Amway. It wasn't Quickster. It wasn't anything like that. It was, yeah, like I said, it was like Toronto Marketing Agency. And then if a few months later they were like, the marketing group or something, things like that. That's why it's hard to talk about them even today. Like, I don't even know what you would look up to find out what these people are doing now. Someone asked, did they ever actually tell you pay scale or anything, or just keep saying you could be a manager in 6 months? Well, the way they explained the pay structure is I would get a percentage of what people signed up for. Like, if you get a person to sign up for, I don't know, like $20 a month, you'd get a percentage of that. So there was no salary. It was just a percentage of what you earned and brought in. And the main message they would tell you is that the more people you sign up, the more you earn. And since it's for a worthy cause, it's still okay. Even though it's a worthy cause, it's still okay that we're getting a percentage of this, it's kind of sad to think, huh? Because I went out there thinking, I'm going to do some good here. I'm going to help raise money for these worthy causes. Yeah. So this marketing group, whatever we want to call them, let's just call them the marketing group, TMG. I started working with them. And the structure of how their days worked was kind of strange. As I mentioned, it was a door-to-door thing. But every day would start at the office, and you would be expected to show up at like 9:30, something like that. You roll in, and everyone's all sort of getting hyped for the day, because we would be targeting different neighborhoods. We would all start in the office, then we'd drive out or take the TTC to a neighborhood. TTC's public transit here in Toronto. And then we would like just comb that neighborhood. Everyone would be assigned a street. You just go up and down the street, knock on every door, ring every bell, talk to every person, see how many people you can get to sign up for this thing. Yeah, this was in January. It was cold and not fun. But before we get to that part, the mornings were always strange because the office had a lot of people in it. There were a lot of desks and a lot of activity. But what they would do is they would cram everyone into this small meeting room. They called it the atmosphere room. And here they would just be like, everyone just practice pitching with everyone, all right? Walk through your pitch. And like you would give this little like cutout, this sort of like, what would I call it? It's sort of like a just like a little flyer thing, but it was laminated, and you would just carry that with you, and it would have all the informations of the group you're representing and the charity you're working for, basically. So like learn the stuff that's on there on the little handout and how you would pitch it to someone, and you would just walk through it. People, especially if you were new, um, they would like go through you like what a sample would look like, what an example would be like, and you would just spend that whole morning hyping each other up. Someone asked, you had to do every house. And you had to specifically skip low income households. That was the thing. We were dropped up in very wealthy neighborhoods, so there were very few low income households. Although whenever we like stumbled upon one, we weren't told to avoid them, but we were sort of left to know, probably not best to stick around there. And yeah, so we'd be in the atmosphere, everyone pumping each other up, talking about how like this is the day we're gonna go out there and like do awesome. I should probably move my little portrait because now I'm in the space. Ooh, that looks bad. Just because I'm telling a story doesn't mean I don't want it to look good. So yeah, now I'm in the space. I've crossed the line. Ooh. And so yeah, we would hype each other up in the atmosphere room. So every day someone would have to give a presentation about whatever, and some people would have music, some people would be very simple and basic. And yeah, then they would take us up the road. For my first day, since I was new, I was partnered up with Danny. Danny was super nice. She was in charge of training me basically, and I was like her direct report. And the idea was, she would be my, I guess, manager, and we would walk through the streets together. My first day, they were told, just watch what Danny does. She's good at this. Maybe you'll want to chime in every now and again, but you'll go together. And so that's what we did. We would walk up the street in a crisp January afternoon through the snow. And someone said music like from a portable speaker. It was like someone's boombox they brought into the room, something like that. Nothing too fancy. So yeah, we would walk up the street. And she would go to every house. And she was a very charming person. Just very, like she had this really cute penguin hat she'd wear. And she's like, oh, I'm just here with my little buddy. And she'd point to her, like her head. And it's like, and my big buddy. And then she would point to me. And she was just so good. She was so good. And very nice. And in between each house, she would give me a little bit of information. We'd talk. And she would have a fun knock. And she would give me tips like, don't ring a doorbell because you might wake up a baby. It's better, or disturb a dog. So just like knock on the door. That's usually better. And people don't get angry at you. Because if someone opens the door, they're angry, they're not going to sign up. And every interaction, generally speaking, was a good one. And there were a few bad ones. And whenever they were bad, her way of dealing with it is... Someone said I'm 45 because I said boombox. Sorry, I have references from the old days. If you think I'm 45, wow. And someone asked if I did KISS, which is keep it simple, stupid. We didn't use that term specifically, but that was part of it. But yeah, going back to the bad experiences, it was weird. She kind of put them out of her mind. I always found that was very strange. Whenever I had bad stuff happen to me on a job, I tended to kind of roll with it and laugh it off. That was how I coped with it. Her method was to just sort of put it in a box, let it go, and ignore it. This kind of foreshadows what this story is going to turn into. Someone asked, is this going to stay up or is this going to be unlisted when Jose is done? It is going to be unlisted, but it'll be on a playlist of my streams. So if you want to find it there, you'll be able to find it. All right, so we were walking up, down together, and yeah, Danny was very nice, very sweet. She and Joe and Sophie and the boss were all friends, as far as I know, anyway. Danny and Sophie in particularly were close. Danny reported to Sophie. Joe did it as well, but Joe was kind of, well, we'll get to Joe. She's interesting. We'll get to her later. But that was the thing. Like, I report to Danny. Danny reports to Sophie. Sophie reports to the boss. You can already tell there's a lot of layers to this for a company of, or I should say an office of like maybe 20 people, and there are that many layers. That should already be a warning sign, by the way. A lot of layers means problems. I remember one house we stopped to on that first day. This was the one that I thought was incredibly sweet. This household, because when we got there, a young person answered it, like clearly a teenager. And when we were told, but we sort of did our spiel, and I could see Danny already thought like, oh, this kid probably doesn't have any money, and we're probably gonna have to move on. And this was I don't know the term for it, but was sort of a house for teenagers who were having some bad luck. It was like a group home kind of thing. And I remember this. I can't remember if I can't remember this person's gender, and I guess it doesn't matter. What they did was they ran off after they heard our story, and they came back, and it's like I asked around everyone in the house, and we only got about like $5 here, but we were going to help these people that you described in your well our pitch, but our story. And I just remember thinking that was so sweet. These kids don't have a lot of money, but they wanted to put their $5 towards something meaningful. I was really happy that we couldn't take their money, because the whole point of this was not to get cash donations, but to instead sign people up via credit card to for recurring monthly donations with this charity. That was the main goal. And I remember walking away from the house and thinking, like, they're so nice. That's so sweet of them. And Danny seemed weirdly unmoved by it, because I don't want to be too hard on Danny, even though in some ways I think she did some bad stuff, as we'll see. But she seemed uninterested. She didn't really care about the story of these people who were trying to do the best they could and giving what little they had to help others. I don't know. Stories like that I always find so moving and important. But for her, it just seemed like it was a waste of time. It was like we could have spent a couple of minutes on these that we spent on these people on like a house, maybe getting someone to sign up. And that was a sort of cynicism that was behind the veil of like this faux concern or faux humanity. I don't know what to call it. Faux humanity is kind of harsh. Just this idea that, we're here to try and do some good in the world, and they're more concerned about bottom lines, I guess. Anyway, after that house, it was close to the end of the day, and there were a lot of conversations while Danny and I were talking, because she had mentioned that they were in New York a few months prior, partying with one of the offices, and there were photos on their Facebook, and it seemed like they were all having a good time. And she would just drop things that I would think to myself, like, this seems inappropriate for a workplace. Like, she talked about how everyone in the New York office is all hooking up. And I'm just like, oh, wow, that's pretty crazy. And she's like, it's so weird. She was like talking about, like, 'cause she worked with her boyfriend at the time, who was also at the same company. So obviously, I don't think she was flirting with me. But she would talk about how, like, it seems weird that everyone's, like, hooking up in these offices. And suddenly she would make reference to, like, oh, what do you think about so-and-so? And, like, so-and-so's, like, and I was like, oh, she seems nice. Like, oh, yeah, she's really cute. And, like, that felt weird to her. I don't have this person on the little board here because I don't remember her name and I didn't really speak to her. But I got a weird vibe, not from her specifically, but people in the office regarding this person and me. Because the next day, because of course they wanted me to come the very next day, Danny was sick and she wouldn't be going with us. And I found out I was going to be moving over to Joe. Joe would be taking me out that day. And when we went out, that aforementioned person, the very sweet, nice person I felt like someone was trying to set me up with, came along with us, and one other person. So it was a group of 4 of us. We went out to this neighborhood one more time, once again, walking up and down. And this time I would be doing it with Joe. But before we went out, I don't know, I accidentally flirted with this with this one person. I say accidentally because I am not a smooth guy. I'm very, very clumsy with my words. And when I was younger, I was even more clumsy. And they kept trying to like puff up this lovely person. Don't get me wrong. She was very nice. And they're like, she's like our office butterfly. And I remember what I said. I just sort of looked at her. I'm like, yeah, I can see that. And sort of in a kind of a smiling kind of way. I didn't intend to be so Yeah, so flirtatious, but that was the way it was kind of taken. I saw like looks exchanged, and I'll just go straight to the chase on this one. Like at the end of the day, they deliberately dropped us off together so we could walk back to the subway together, and it just felt weird. Like they were invested in me getting together with this person, which is strange, right? Uh, it's strange that they think that there's this weird element of romance and connection that's part of your job, and it was very weird to me. But let me talk about what it was like to go out with Joe for that day. Joe was very good. As sweet as Danny was, Joe was more polished. She was more refined. I could see why, like on the hierarchy, she seemed to be doing a little more. In fact, she seemed to be sort of going out and doing her own thing. We went out in that morning. The day before with Danny, we didn't. I don't think we signed up anybody. Probably a lot of days go like that because it's a tough gig. With Joe, uh, by the time it was like a late lunch, early dinner, because we all met up for coffee with other people in the group, we signed up two people for $50 donations. So like, yeah, that's pretty good. uh, to do that in like half a day, people were impressed. Like when we went to that meeting, people were like applauding for me. I didn't think I did that much because I felt like Joe did a lot of the heavy lifting because she's very good. But but it was still like a successful run, I guess. And they wanted to put that on me. And I like, our boss called us. That was Sophie because she was back at the office. She didn't go out and do runs like us plebs, but she wanted to like let me know she's so proud of me that I'm doing so well. And it was very promising. And suddenly everyone thought I was like a guy. I think this was part of why wanted to set me up with someone and get me just involved more deeply in this group. It was a weird feeling. You feel good about yourself when everyone is so warm and welcoming and bringing you on and telling you that you're going to be a big deal and that you have these tangible results. Like I did go out there and I did help get those monthly donations in, and that was a payday for me. And but at the same time, it felt good to feel like I was like, succeeding at my job, because why wouldn't it? And so later that we went out, we didn't get anyone the second half of the day because whatever, we already had such a strong morning, right? And talking to Joe, she was nice, she was cool, and we would just talk about how to improve ourselves. And I even had a signature knock. Hopefully people will hear this. I'm going to knock on my desk here. Maybe you'll recognize the tune, but this is how I knocked on people's doors. So that's the Mario theme. Whenever people answer the door, they usually had a smile if they recognize it. It's like, oh, Super Mario at the door. And what a great icebreaker that is, right? Someone just asked, I came in late, what were they selling? They were selling, someone thought it was the Terminator theme. They were selling memberships to a charity for monthly donations that do aid work around the world. If you couldn't hear the knocking, it was dun 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 dun, and yeah, it was just no. Terminator would be like dun 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 dun. No, it's I guess you're easier to hear in person, but it was a good knock. I felt proud of that knock, weirdly. But yeah, it was that second day was a good experience. I felt like things were going my way, but certain things maybe I just caught them on a weird day, because I remember before we went out in the atmosphere room, people started saying weird things that kind of like perked my ears up, that made me skeptical, curious, unsure. And one of them they would constantly talk about how this is great as an opportunity. It's like, this is a great opportunity for your career. You're going to do so much good in the world. You're going to do so much good for yourself. This is like something you can make the most of things. And then they would talk about how reactions to people's choices were, and how we should consider other people in our lives. And I'd hear something along the lines of, not everyone's going to understand. Like, not everyone's going to understand how great an opportunity you're having here, and they're going to put doubt into your mind. And, you know, we hate to say this because there's a lot of negative forces out there, but you kind of have to push those negative forces, those negative people out of your life. That was a huge red flag. The idea that I should cut off my friends or family because they might be, I want to say this word very carefully because it sounds like a slur, but they were negging me out. That's Negging. That was a phrase they used a lot. That's basically what they would present the rest of the world that didn't understand, so to speak. They were negative. And this group I was in, this company, they were positive. They were there to help me. They were there to puff me up and make me feel good. Date Joe, she's good for you, unlike your parents and friends. Joe's dating life is going to be very interesting later on in the story, let me tell you, but not with me. But so yeah, neg is way for the type. Yeah, it is. This was stuff that started, these were the cracks that started to appear, especially since I had a good group of friends and family, and like I wasn't completely isolated. And I think to myself, in retrospect, what if I didn't have friends? What if I was like kind of a lonely guy and didn't have this social support system? How much more vulnerable would I have been? And talking to people in the group, a lot of them didn't seem to have great social lives. After work, they would always talk about how they would go out for drinks, and like literally after 2 days, they were inviting me the next day. It's like, oh, we're gonna go to a bar. You should come hang out with us. And it's like, I don't know who you people are. I still felt a little distance because I've always been a little tough to warm up to, a little slow to warm up to people. But Alex Maurice with a super chat, just like the thought terminating cliches, worldly people for JWs and liberal elites for radical conservatives. Yeah, the idea is to disengage you from communities that will have counter narratives to what you're hearing in the group. And that's that's what they really sort of pull you in with. So after the second day, I was feeling pretty good. I went to the movies with my friends the following day, and I told them about my new job. Some of them expressed some skepticism, but most of them were pretty supportive. My parents were very supportive. My mom actually bought me some like business clothes so I could do my work. Maybe it was because of the whole sort of like pushing out negative influences talk. Maybe the whole negative influences made me suspicious. It was a lot of red flags that led me to do something that weekend that I really should have done before I even got involved with these people as deeply as I did. And that was to do some research on the company, the people. I had done like basic stuff when I applied, but the process was so quick and it seemed so good that I just got pulled into it, unfortunately. And with a weekend with room to think, I took some time to do a bit more research. And I sort of wonder, like, what if I had like gone to hang out with these people on the weekend, on Saturday instead? How would things have gone differently? I'm so glad my like real friends had planned to go to a movie that night. Although they said I should invite my friends to hang out with them. That seems weird to me. It's like, why do you want to meet my friends? It was a stretch, right? So I started doing some research. Not just the company name, which was very difficult to trace. I started researching people I was working with. I found some Facebook pages that seemed completely innocuous. Then there was the boss, whose name is so distinct. And maybe that's how it all fell apart, because he had a very distinct name. And when I Googled him, I found some stuff. I found he had previously worked for a company. He had sort of presented himself as a globetrotting guy. He said, he's from... I can say he was originally from South Africa. It's not Elon Musk. Someone was saying that earlier. Wouldn't it be wild if Elon Musk secretly ran an MLM that I was a part of? That would be so cool. I would definitely be telling you who it was if that was the case. But he was in South Africa. Then he was in England, where he met Sophie and Danny, for that matter. And now they moved to Canada to do stuff. And Joe was someone they found in Canada to explain like the process of how they moved around. But I found like a trail of people who had worked for this guy, people he had wronged basically, and calling him a con man. And this is when I first found out what MLMs were, multi-level marketing. They're basically pyramid schemes, and this graphic is actually showing you a pyramid in sort of a linear way, where you've got the boss at the top, then you've got Sophie here, and then like Joe and Danny. Oh, let's not cut my head. And you got Joe and Danny here, and me down here. So yeah, it's a pyramid, isn't it? And you could say the spell was broken at this point. I had sort of figured it out. I started to read more and more on multi-level marketing, learning about groups like Cobra and Primerica and all these shady, awful groups. And I realized I felt a little bad for myself, but at the same time, I thought, these people aren't right. And they were expecting me on Monday. I decided I was going to flip things on my head. I realized I was very lucky. I was only there for like 2 days, and I thankfully clued in and was ready to bounce. But on Monday, I thought to myself, you know what? I'm going to go back. I'm going to go back and I'm going to start asking questions. After all, one of the things they mentioned is they love it when people ask questions. They love when people are engaged with the work and want to be a part of this. So I went back. Monday I arrived and I found out that I was no longer working under Danny, which is how I'd been set up. Since I'd been so successful with Joe, they're like, you are now with Joe permanently. Or at least until I can go further up the pyramid, I guess. And I remember, I think Danny was still sick because she had been sick that Friday, which is why I didn't go out with her. I went on with Joe instead. And, Danny was different when I saw her again. Did I see her on Monday or Tuesday? I don't remember. But I remember she was distant. She was like my buddy when I first started. But now that I was with Joe, suddenly Joe was my buddy. Suddenly Joe wanted to be supportive and helpful and my pal, more so than she was on Friday. And I could tell like friendships and allegiances change with depending on where you are in the hierarchy. And I thought that was so sad, to be honest, because Sophie and Danny were actually really good friends. But like, what if Danny got moved around or something? Would that friendship last? Also, I should mention Sophie and the boss were a couple. Did I say that? They were a couple, which I thought was very strange, especially since she was essentially reporting to him. She said they worked together, but he was certainly higher up on the hierarchy than she was, one level up. But there it is. Fun stuff. So, that Monday, we were, same old thing as usual. We would go into the atmosphere room. We would hype each other up. A lot of patting of each other's backs. Lovely, lovely stuff there. Wonderful people. Basically, getting you all brainwashed for the day to come, as I could now see so much more clearly. And I wanted to ask questions of everyone I was working with, but I didn't want to do that in the atmosphere room, so I sat through the usual thing. When we went out, it was me and Joe again, and Joe was giving me special attention. After all, I had that awesome Friday, right? I'm an exciting new recruit. So she was giving me one-on-one time as opposed to the four-on-one time I had the previous day. And she was driving us out there in her car, and I started asking questions. I started asking what I thought were simple questions, like who does the boss report to? Because they had meant a reference to higher up people, and we get first names, and I'd be like, you told me the story of so and so who was working out of his car, and now he's the big boss, but who was he working for at the time if he's the big boss now? What is the company at the very top? And very simple question. She just very quickly could not answer. She was falling apart with under my questioning, and it all became very clear. She doesn't have a clear idea of the structure of this company. Who's at the top? Where are the different offices? What is the overall, who is the person in charge? That's what I wanted to know. Who is at the very top of this pyramid? I could never get an answer. There was a vague reference to a guy named Jamie, I think that was the guy at the top, except he was working for someone. So like, doesn't he report to someone? Someone asked, did Joe seem to care that she didn't know? That's a good question. I think she cared as much as she needed to care. She knew who she reported to and who he reported to, but that was what she cared about. That's all she really cared about. She was focusing on her own success. And I think that's how she internalized it. She was working to make herself a manager, and everyone around her didn't matter as much. And it seems troubling, right? Can't you name your CEO? That seems like a basic. Uh, unless you've been there for like a week, I guess. But even so. Joe didn't have any answers for me. But she said, you know who does? Sophie. I should talk to Sophie. Sophie wasn't in that day. She was sick. I think she caught whatever Danny had. Just, I don't know. It was like something infectious or something. It happens. So I would have to talk to her the next day. So I thought to myself, okay, I guess I have to come here on Tuesday to get more answers. So you might be wondering, like, okay, you did the morning routine. Did you go out and go to every house afterward and do your shtick? And no, I did not. I did walk up around because she would be the way she handled it is like I'd be on my own this time. I'd walk on the south side of the street. She'd walk on the north side of the street. And she kept an eye on how I was doing, but like I was kind of on my own, and I would just like walk up the doors, pretend to knock, and just stand there and be like blah blah blah, just killing time. And then I was thinking to myself, am I gonna do this all day? Am I gonna do this for like 8 hours? This is insane. So I just eventually told her like, oh my foot is like hurting. I actually did have a bit of a cut on my foot. My shoes were a bit tight, but I had to go. And wow. She was very insistent that I keep going. And she would talk about like, I had this one guy who I was working with. He got cuts all up and down his foot. But well, you know what he did? We went to a pharmacy. He got some bandages, wrapped his foot up, and he got out there. And he just hit his doors and like did all these things. And I'm just like, I think I'd like to go home because I'm bleeding into my sock. And I totally was, but it was like a tiny cut. Totally could have put a Band-Aid on it. I just wanted to get the hell out of there. So I left early that day. And I told her, I'll see you on Tuesday. And I'm looking forward to speaking with Sophie. And sort of reflecting on the way Joe would try and keep me motivated and keep me out there doing those things, even though, someone asked where the cuts come from. I don't know where it came from with the other guy, but for me, it was like the back heel of my shoe. Like the heel was a little too low and it was rubbing against like my Achilles tendon, basically. Not as painful as it sounds. It was just like kind of a cut. My socks were a little too thin, I think. That was probably the case. But yeah, that's where the cut came from. And also, have you already mentioned how long ago that was? Or this was a while ago, after I finished university. I'll go that far. But yeah, there you go. That was the situation. And someone asked what MLM this is. We're just going to call them TMG. They've had a lot of names. They're not connected to any of the big ones people know, as far as I know. Maybe they were and they just didn't tell me. But they were like a weird chameleon group, and very strange group of people. So before we get to the what is an MLM cult, multi-level marketing cult, it's presented as like a job, but it operates more like a cult. You probably have to go back further in the stream to really get a sense of why it's a pyramid scheme, yeah, but like it operates like a cult. Like let's talk about Joe for a little bit, because I spoke to her probably more than anyone else. And she wasn't just trying to get me to go out there to, sell product, basically. I learned about her as a person, actually. She talked about, she started off as going to university. When she graduated, she got like a low-level job at some marketing company, and she was frustrated. She was not advancing the way she thought she could be. She was working hard but not feeling like she was being recognized at her job. And she felt like she was letting down her family in a way. She was someone I actually had a lot of sympathy for at the time, because she seemed to be a good person trying her best, and she was now working at this company trying to make some kind of dream come true. But it wasn't, because her regular life just wasn't working out for her. And in some ways I sort of look at her and everyone there really as a victim, even though some of them are then turning around and victimizing other people. But yeah, the stories that I heard from people felt like my stories. That was another reason why I felt like I fit in, because you feel a kinship with people. But what was very disturbing to me was like just how insidious the lies were, how everything was lying. Like the story about the guy getting his feet cut up that Joe told me, almost certainly not true. Uh, like, what is she talking about? That sounds like a bogus story. But I remember when, because one of my majors in university, I was one in a very well, I've shared this before. I went to the University of Toronto, which is very strange because you get two majors there, or you can get a specialist degree or a major and two minors. So my majors were in English and psychology, and that was something I shared with people there. There were actually several English majors, which was kind of funny, and I found out Sophie was an English major. And here's one thing that I made me realize that someone like Sophie, let's move my thing over because we're going to the next day, is complete scum. Because when I sat down and talked to her, I had mentioned my majors to Joe the previous day. And one of the first things she told me is like, what did you major in? And when I told her, and she's like, oh, you too? I also majored in English and psychology. An absolute lie, because I knew she had majored in English, but just English. Someone had mentioned that to me the previous week. But as I started to realize this whole place was built on lies. Because the next day, everyone was getting ready to go out, but I was there to talk to Sophie. I had been taking notes. I had my little notebook of facts that I had collected from my conversations with Joe and other people, and I wanted to sit down with Sophie. I wanted some answers, and so we sat down, and I started asking very specific questions. She, of course, started to ingratiate herself. I just told you that little bit about the majors, that she clearly lied to my face, and that sort of, it got us off on the wrong foot. At least in my mind, in my head, a switch just flicked, and it's just like, this is a liar. She is trying to manipulate you. Don't believe a thing she says, but also don't let her know that. So I kept my poker face and a gentle smile, and I just like pulled out my notebook. It's like, oh, I just wrote down my questions. I hope that's okay. And she was like, yeah, absolutely. That's great. I'm glad that you're taking an initiative. Of course, this whole conversation is going to be paraphrased because it was many years ago, but this is how it went along. I started asking her questions like, I noticed the job listings are still up because I had only been there for 4 days. Every day I was there, I saw new people coming in for interviews. And I was just asking, like, how many interviews have you've really been doing? And she's like, oh yeah, we're interviewing like dozens of people. It's like, it's a bustling job market and a lot of people want to get ahead, but not a lot of people can make it. So I'd ask questions like, how many people stick around? Like, of the people you hire, what is the retention rate? She told me that the number of people who don't stick around last from 90 to 95% of 90 to 95% of people don't stick around. That's the churn. Someone asked, do I still have the notebook? I absolutely do. It's actually at my parents' place, so I'd have to go find it, but I saved that notebook. You can rest assured. And that churn of people where 90 to 95% of people are only there for like a week or less. That's something else, right? That's bad, I think. Realize that churn is way too high for a job. That's like worse than fast food. Awful. But if you stick around, you're one of the chosen few, isn't it? So that I thought was bad. And then, for instance, the early period is like the training portion, because of course most jobs have training periods and they want it to seem legitimate. So like, I'm being trained. And I remember I told my mom at the time that I was being trained right now. And she's like, they're paying you, right? I'm like, oh no, they're not paying me for the training period. And it's like, I remember she was outraged. That was another flag. And I'm glad she told me about that, because like, you should be paid when you're being trained for a job. It is a loss for the company, but like, it's an investment in the employee to eventually do a better job, right? That's the whole point of training. And someone just said, I'm just saying that because I'm part of the churn. Yeah, maybe I'm just bitter that I missed out on this golden opportunity. I really dropped the ball on this one. I'm posting my L in this stream. That's what this is. Also, someone said training is work. It is, because like this training skill, like what? Am I going to learn this art of knocking on people's doors and apply it to like other jobs? Probably not. Or if I do, like I screwed up and got another bad job. So I remember I I brought that up to Sophie. Uh, Someone said, I can't believe Sophie told me the turnover rate. Um, Maybe because I was already in and she thought I was going to stick around. And, but yeah, so I asked her about the training and I said, it seems strange that, we're not paying people to train them because that's like a standard practice at a job. And I remember saying like, it seems unfair, the training program here. And she just looked at me and like she had this gentle smile the whole time and she was like, and this is where it slipped. She said, unfair? You mean unfair to me? And it was like her voice like raised a bit and she was like the mask kind of slipped right in that moment. And I just remember thinking like, no, unfair to the people who are being trained and not being compensated. And she rephrased it and saying like, no, I am giving people an opportunity. I am training them without demanding that they pay me. Like the idea that a job thinks you should be paying them to be trained, isn't that madness? Uh, that was a telling moment for me, and it solidified my opinion of her as just absolute scum. Uh, the rest of the conversation would be along the lines of me asking things like, what percentage of what we make goes to the charity? How much do we get paid? For instance, she said, of that $50 donations, those $50 donations, I said, I would be making $50, which made me think, how does that work? How am I getting 100% of that donation? They're like, well, the idea is that they stick around for later months, but I get that first month off there. And it seems so bad. Like what? I'm taking the entire first month that's supposed to go to a charity, and it seems strange to me. And I brought up that when I was like moving around, like one of our strategies would be like, when you donate that first day, it's like a double matching donor day. So your donation goes twice as far, and then you can just cancel the next month. So basically we would sign people up for charity, tell them to cancel the next month, and then pocket that money. Like that blew my mind. That was so scummy. That was so gross because they were working with a legitimate charity, and this charity was getting screwed over just like the people we were talking to were getting screwed over. And someone asked what my pronouns are. They're he, him. Those are my pronouns. That was so yeah. The fact that we were also screwing over charity, just like I was outraged by that. And by the end of the interview, I had kept my composure the whole time, which Sophie could not say. And I remember the last thing she said to me. She said, so are you still going to stay with us? And this is the part where I nearly broke because I was just ready to laugh in her face. And I just said, no, I am not. I picked up my notebook and I left, and no one really showed me out. But on the way out, I remember seeing a guy sitting in the waiting room, waiting for his interview. And I just leaned in and I said, get the hell out of here. This place is a cult. And then I walked out the door, and I never went back. And I hope that guy listened. I have no idea if he followed me out or not. I wasn't willing to look back, but I hope he did. And that's the first part of the story. And now you're thinking like, first part? That sounds like the end. It was the end of the big part of the story. Because I'm the sort of person, I guess you could say I hold a grudge against people like this who do horrible stuff. Uh, My name is not Chad. I would never want to be a Chad. Uh, but there's a bit more here. The next thing I did that day is I went to that neighborhood I went to on Friday, the one where I got two people to sign up with Joe. Remember that? I found the two people who we had signed up, and I told them to immediately cancel their donations, cancel the check they signed, cancel everything. Or was it a check? Or was their credit card? Something like that. In the case of one of them, she canceled immediately, so they got no money. In the second case, the other people just weren't home, so I wrote them a note and let them know. And I told them, like, here's my number. If you want more details, I'll tell you why I think these people are shady. So please, I never heard back from them. I hope they canceled. Although those groups of that family said like they were going to sign up and cancel the next month. So either way, they weren't going to stick with it. So that was good. And yeah, I didn't want these people making any sort of money off of work I did, and I would sabotage them as best I could. And I got another opportunity a few weeks later, because this is wild. I don't know if they intended to do this, but this is wild. They were canvassing my neighborhood, which is weird because at the time I was living with my family because I was, poor student looking for work. And it wasn't even a particularly wealthy neighborhood, but I think they were they just showed up. And I was like, what are the odds? Toronto is not that big. Oh, right. I'm out now. Thank you for reminding me. I am free of this place. And so someone actually came to the door. I remember hearing their voice. I didn't answer the door, thankfully. My mom even told me, like, oh, there's a girl there. And she was like, doing something that you used to do. Because obviously I told everyone what was up after I left. Told my friends the story and everything. And then they were canvassing my neighborhood. I immediately, like, put on my winter coat. I'm like, I'm going to find these people. Because, like, we're going to have a conversation. I couldn't find anyone I wanted to find. There was a dude who worked there who I saw briefly, but he was like far away. And I'm like, I can't chase him. And it's late. And I'm like, you know what? They usually canvass the same neighborhood for a couple of days. I'm gonna rest up, and tomorrow morning, then it's gonna get real. And get real it did. So the next day, since I was still young and looking for a job, I had nothing to do. So I went out, deliberately tried to start a confrontation. So I was walking through the neighborhood, and one of the girls, not Danny, Joe, or Sophie. Well, Sophie wouldn't have been out. Not Danny or Joe, but another person I knew was walking down the street. And I remember I deliberately arranged it so that I would be walking, because it was my neighborhood. I know how to get around. I would be walking directly towards her, and we'd have to say hello, right? Except there was a side street, and she broke protocol and went up the side street because she didn't even want to look at me. But she was out there that day with a new person. And, I didn't want to let that slide. I wasn't going to like scream at this person. I had questions, I had questions. She took her new recruit to like a fast food place for lunch. And someone just asked, I've noticed most of the people in your story were women. Was that consistent for the company overall from what you saw in the hype room? I would say it was like a 75% to 25% women to men. Man, that might even be too generous. It might be been like 80% women. But yes. So anyway, I went to this place where she brought her new recruit for food, and this time I was like, I'm not gonna like try and like make it look like we're stumbling across each other. I'm just going up and say, hey, what's up? So I went up there and said like, hey, and suddenly this person was very nice. And we started chatting, and they were acting like it was old times. Obviously, I hadn't spoken to this person ever since leaving. And there was a new recruit talking about how, she would talk about her new recruits like, oh, this is so-and-so. She's new at the company, and she's working really hard. I mean, she has a cold, but she's out here, and she's doing it. We're so proud of her. And I was like, oh, yeah, it's a hard work. And I say like I used to do that, and I just didn't think it was right for me. It's like, oh yeah, but you were good at it. You were really good. And I'm just like, yeah, well, it's not for me. And I remember towards the end of our walk, we were walking down the street, and then she said, or no, I said, because at this point they had changed the name of their company. Isn't that shady, huh? A few weeks later, they changed the name of their company. Why would they do that? So I just brought up, it's like, so I said out of nowhere, like, so why'd you guys change the name of the company? And I could tell this was not information the new person had heard. And and I said, I like the old company name. Before I was calling them, I guess, TMG. So I like TMG. That sounded cool. Your new name, whatever marketing sounds lame. And then the new recruit just said, you guys changed your company? And I sort of felt like she just learned something very important, something that will hopefully recontextualize her experience. And the person she was with, one of the true believers, so to speak, immediately said like, we just thought it was better, and it was nice meeting you, seeing you again. So we're going up this way, but yeah, we'll see you. Bye. And it was very awkward because I was it was a one-way street. There was no turn. They just started walking much faster, and I was going in the exact same direction. So I just stood there, and I'm just like, what do I do now? Do I have to like follow them? But I don't know. I like hopped over a snowbank and crossed the road, which was very dangerous because it was a busy street. But I was like, I've bothered this person enough. But yeah, that was a fun moment. In some ways, I think, was I being mean there? But at the same time, I hope I helped that new person. I hope they realized uh, the truth, so to speak. And that's a fun little addendum. Um, but the story's not over yet. There's a little more to the story. This part gets tricky because like I actually can't talk about certain portions of it. So let's just consider this as an epilogue. I found out certain bits of information. For instance, Sophie and the boss, they didn't last. This relationship was not meant to be. What happened? Well, Sophie went back to England, where she started another company that got into some legal trouble. I cannot talk about that legal trouble for reasons, but let's just say I had to speak to the cops for a little bit. Nothing to do with me directly. It was just sort of like indirect news. But Sophie, things aren't. Last I checked, things weren't going so well for her. What happened to the boss? He went back to South Africa, but he didn't go alone, because going with him was Joe, because they were a thing. Uh, that's right. Joe succeeded climbing up the corporate ladder in this shameful job, and I guess when you get higher up, you have to start dating the boss. I don't know what the deal with that is, but it's very creepy and weird. And Joe, I feel bad for. My last exchange with Joe was when they were canvassing my neighborhood. Remember that part of the story? I sent her a text to stop to stop lying to people's faces, basically, and best of luck. Not the nicest text, but she never responded anyway. And we never spoke again. And as far as I know, they're in South Africa living terrible lives, screwing people. Danny, I believe, went back to England and now lives an ordinary life. I don't think she's involved with any of this stuff anymore. Again, it's been a while since I looked up any of these people, but I think she's out too. And you know, that was how it all ended up for everyone. I would say of all the people, I ended up the best. I started off a YouTube channel, and now I make super cool videos about TV shows from the 90s. And all these other people, I don't know. I hope their lives have steered away from the awful, but that is my MLM story. I hope people enjoyed it. And questions. You must have questions. Like, here's Twin Rabbit. Without giving away too much, you barely worked the place 2 weeks and your name came up for an investigation. I wasn't even there. It was 4 days I was there total. And the reason my name came up is actually I was a vocal critic of these people, let's just say. I tipped off a few places. I may have gotten an article published in a local community newspaper about how these people were terrible. And I think that put me on people's radar. Uh, it wasn't even like, it's not like I got it published in the Toronto Star or something. It was like a very small press, like distribution to a neighborhood kind of thing. So, uh, okay. But yeah, it did come up, and it was complicated. Someone just asked, let's keep it questions about the MLM for now. But how much to get me to do a Boy Meets World episode video? That's a very interesting question. I'll leave it at that for now. But let's focus on the MLM story. Did they ever try retaliating? Absolutely never. Not once. As far as I know, if they've tried, they failed because I've not noticed it. I think it's in their interests to sort of skulk about and move on. It's an MLM. How are they making money off you? Were they asking you to pay them eventually? I don't quite see their angle. So the idea is they were making money off my labor. That is to say, signing up donations. I wasn't giving them money. My money was the labor of going door to door every day in the middle of winter, putting in ridiculous hours. So it's not an MLM in the traditional sense where you buy products and then resell them. So I guess in some ways they're not as terrible as others, but it is kind of a strange hybrid model of MLMs, though. Someone said Torontoist. It wasn't Torontoist. The Beaches paper, no. But it's like that kind of scale. Don't ask me where. I don't want to dox them. Or dox myself, I should say. Not that I even live in that neighborhood anymore, but even so. If you can talk about it, how exactly did you find out what happened to these people and that the boss started to date Joe and stuff? I looked them up on Facebook. It's not that tough to find these people. I knew their full names. I knew their Facebook profiles. They didn't put them on private. They weren't that clever. And you can see them as a couple together in South Africa on the beach smooching. So I assume they're a thing. Let's see, more questions. So where's the MLM part? Like, how were Danny, Joe, etc. benefiting from you and others in a downline scenario? The idea was, I forgot this part of the interview. What Sophie did at one part when I was speaking with her, she drew a picture of how the profits work. So when I make $50 off signing up that donation, a percentage of that goes to my supervisor and a percentage of that goes to their supervisor, and it just goes up the tree that way. And she was trying to sell this to me as an opportunity. It's like, if you get good enough, you could hire people, and then they could hire people, and then you'll get a percentage of all of that. She was drawing out the structure on my notebook, and she drew it as a pyramid, and it was so good. Like, I think she noticed she drew a pyramid, and then suddenly she drew like a line branching off to the upper right, so it wouldn't look like a pyramid. But that drawing is my favorite part of the notes I had, because it's like she drew it herself. That was the best part. But like that's the pyramid structure there, because yeah. Okay, do you think Joe's story as a woman feeling unappreciated in a workplace is typical of the other women at the company? Do you think that's why the company was majority women? I don't know how typical her story was, because I think a lot of people had come there from school. And a lot of them didn't have much experience in the business world. Joe is one of the few people who seemed to leave a job for this opportunity. Do I feel conflicted that I cost people who could have been roped into a friendly cult their connections and pay? No, I do not. I hope they absolutely didn't. Someone asked, did I receive any pay? I made exactly $0, and I wouldn't have accepted any money. I could have only gotten it through those donations, and I would have just given it back to the people had they tried to give it to me. I think I stole a pen, though, so I came out ahead with some office supplies. Was it just you and Sophie when you took out your notebook to ask questions? No one else heard? That's right. It was just in her office, just the two of us. Everyone else was getting ready to go out for the day in the atmosphere room. Okay, let's see. More questions. The thing that sucks about when I scan for these questions going down, it like pops around. So I'm trying to get all of these. If I don't answer it, you can always ask again. Hopefully I'll see it. It's a triangle thing. Were you the youngest there? No. Everyone was really young. Everyone was about my age, but there was like one or two people who were a few years younger than me. But I was definitely, like, there was no one over the age of 30 except for the boss. Post that drawing on my community wall. I'd have to find it. It's like I said, it's at my parents' place in the notebook. So I'd have to find it and get a picture of it at some point. You probably discussed this, but why was I targeted for recruitment by these folks? I had just finished school and was sending out a lot of resumes, and they replied. I was a kid with no real prospects and struggling to get by in the world. So it wasn't really targeting. It was just, an open net for desperate people, basically. Why didn't you just tell the new recruit it was an MLM? I think I said cult instead of MLM because I wanted to scare him, because he seemed like this small guy in this like nice proper outfit for an interview. And I wanted to get the hell out of there. So I just wanted to go for maximum impact and then bounce, because I hated just being there. Do I think the MLM is very different from other exploitative situations like scams, pyramid schemes, grifters? It's it's not very different, but it has its own unique characteristics. The fact that it was raising money for a charity, or supposedly raising money for a charity, uh, I thought that was grotesque and particularly bad. Uh, and it made it seem more legitimate as a company. And it talked about, like, if I wanted to start my own company, I could like focus on charities and stuff. Like, just hideous people, or tactics, I should say. Did I attend an opportunity meeting? No, they structured it more like a job, saying it was like an interview. Um, but they did use the word opportunity a lot. Uh, I want to join an MLM. Don't. Well, I mean, if you want to do it as a sting, I can tell you about another time. There was a job I knew 100% was a scam, but I went in because I thought it was funny. That's a fun story. Have you ever looked into Smart Circle or Devil Corp? No, I've not heard of them, but they could be similar. How nice was the building they operated out of? Was it suspiciously empty? So it was like one of those old factories that had been repurposed into an office space for like cool upstarts. So it actually had kind of a cool vibe. Even though the neighborhood was, I don't know, kind of like hipster douchey vibe neighborhood. If anyone knows where Liberty Village is in Toronto, it wasn't too far from there. So that's the vibe it had. But it seemed genuine. Like there were actual companies that were also operating in that building too. So uh, let's see this. How every day did the activities? It seemed pretty standard. Like they had a routine and everyone was used to it. So I guess in that sense, it felt every day, if that's what you mean. Frodo Patronus, baby. So thank you so much for Ulysses, from Ulysses Genesi. I don't have a question in particular, just saying thanks for the story. You're very welcome. Um, and yeah, someone mentioned MLMs and pyramid schemes aren't very well known. That's really unfortunate. They prey on a lot of people because of that. Um, the Sting story. I'll thank you, F. Pedrosa. I give money. I take money. Do you agree that crypto is basically just a complicated pyramid scheme? Yeah. If, crypto seems like a huge scheme. Matt Binder actually has a really good podcast called The Scam Economy. It's very anti-crypto and anti-NFT. He does a good job of explaining how he thinks it's a pyramid scheme. I'm inclined to believe him. You know, I would check that out if you want to learn more. Did you ever tell the charity they were working with? Oh yeah, I did do that. I deliberately got in touch with the charity. I wrote them an email detailing my experience. I mentioned every name I could and every company. I never heard back. Uh, Sadly, unfortunately, I didn't. But yeah, I was happy to let them know, and I hope they severed ties with them. I hope. Someone also mentioned Danielson's video on NFTs. Yes, check that out if you want to see what a scam those are. But yeah, the Sting story. Okay. This is the fun part. This was one I knew 100% was a scam because it was they were advertising. God, what was it? I forget what the pitch was, but I just remember looking at it and being like, okay, this is bogus, but I want to go here and see what's up. This is going to be fun. And this was a place that was selling the opportunity to aerate people's lawns. If people don't know what aeration is, let me look that up for you so you can know what this looks like. An aeration machine is one of these things. It basically puts holes into lawns so they can like ventilate or something. I don't know. I don't do landscaping, but this is basically what aeration is all about. Let me answer this question. When you confronted them after you left, why didn't you outright tell the person they were recruiting that it was a cult MLM? I don't know. I feel like maybe I should have been harsher, but I also didn't want to be written off as a crazy person or as like a bitter former employee or whatever. I think it's important to plant seeds of doubt into people. I don't think slamming them in the face with information is always the best approach. Okay, so the aeration thing. The idea was this company, what was it called? It was like something like Yard Masters or something stupid. They had a big recruitment thing. I remember we had to go way up to the northern part of the city And they would say like everyone shows up and it's like, this is your chance to make real money. You'll go door to door and give people a service and you'll make a lot of money. And just the pitch was so funny because they're like, our boss, like, he's a real guy. This was a much smaller operation. He's like, he's a real, like, he's a go-getter. He's a self-starter. Let me tell you some things to make him so you know how cool he is. He started his own business at 30. He's a world-class kickboxing champion. And like, that's where I almost started laughing. It's like, your second accomplishment is he's a kickboxing champion. Like, okay, this is obviously a scam. And they just talked about how, this is for self-starters, learning about sales, learning how to go door to door, and like, you can make so much money. And basically the way it would work is they would load us up. I didn't actually go through with this. I only sat into the very first meeting. They said one of the people who worked there used to be a relief pitcher for the Toronto Blue Jays. I was like, oh my God, you don't go from being a relief pitcher for the Toronto Blue Jays to working at this like dinky, like aeration service. But okay. The guy's like, the idea was you would show up in the morning. They would load you up on a bus at like 8 a.m. They'd drop you up at some rich neighborhood with this big ass machine and you would go door to door charging people whatever money to aerate their lawn, and you do your little pitch, and hopefully someone will like take pity on you. And there were no breaks. Like they were told to like bring your lunch with you, so you don't have to like go somewhere to buy it, and you can just eat it as you walk between houses. And like, don't ask to go to people's washrooms. You don't want to make them feel weird. And it's like, it sounded horrible. And what was so silly about these people is it was obviously a scam. I guess that's the thing that was most striking. Like, and I was reading online more about this particular scam. If you wanted to actually aerate someone's lawn, you could do this without this company. You could go to a Home Depot or well, I don't know if Home Depot does this, some place that rents out equipment, like rent one of these machines, go to door, and then pocket all the money if you really want to do this job. You don't need this company to do anything. They are basically a glorified bus that will take a percentage of your profits because to scam you, basically. It was wild. But this was one of the funnier schemes I came across. And I for a long time, I liked looking up these weird stories. And you know what? I am going to have to take a brief moment here because I am feeling my needs as a human right now are picking up. And yeah, they did provide the equipment, but the percentage they took was more than you would earn, which is why it was a scam. Anyway, I will be back in a few seconds. The stream is not over, but for now, just, I don't know, enjoy the look of this aeration machine. But I'll be back in a moment. Okay, I am back. Someone asked if I listen to Behind the Bastards. I do on occasion when I have the opportunity. You could hear the toilet flushing. I should have closed the door. My place isn't that big. But there's I should have put up a BRB screen. I should have muted the mic. So many mistakes. Okay. Now we all know, right? Sorry. Well, now you know I'm a human. I'm human after all. Thank you, Windows 95. I'm now in Jose's downlights and SC to my downline. Awesome. Someone say I'd make a fun guest if I was on Behind the Bastards. Sure, tell them to put me on. I don't know what I would talk about, but I'd be happy to be on. They're cool. Um, so, trying to get over my embarrassment here. But I feel like I've run out of material. But this is the part of the stream where we can descend into a vibe, right? Where we're just talking, having a good time. If anyone wants to share their MLM stories, I would invite you to do that now. Thank you, the political one, Jose. I've almost joined the same MLM thing. Much love. I'm glad you were able to avoid it. There are people who get in much deeper and much uh, more more caught up in it. That's don't get out, unfortunately, and I have a lot of sympathies for those people. Thank you, Susie Fairfield, for like 99 cents. But I like the little emoji there. Does Kroger count as an MLM? Maybe. I don't know what Kroger is. Uh, hey, Jose, random question. Do you speak Spanish? Not very well. Not very well at all. And I'm not a bird. So gaming with this guy keeps asking about Boy Meets World. Maybe. Let's just say my next video, I think, will answer that question, if that makes sense. I'm working on my next sitcom retrospective right now, and it's been a lot of fun. It's actually pretty far along, but since I'm coordinating with another person, I have to sort of work with their question or with their schedule. So yeah, it's gonna be. Someone said Kroger is an American grocery chain. I'm Canadian. I don't know what American grocery chains are. Don't toy with me like that. Someone said they lost half their friends to this MLM. I'm glad you didn't get hit. Osama bin Diesel, but that sucks for your friends. Someone said I should collab with Quentin Reviews. I don't know, I guess. I don't really watch his stuff, to be honest. I've seen a few of his videos and they're pretty good. I'd be open to a collab if there's an idea out there that would use both our powers. Someone asked if I'm playing Elden Ring. I haven't gotten around to it yet. I am currently playing Shin Megami Tensei 5. And by playing, I mean I haven't picked it up in a week because I've been very busy. But I want to play Elden Ring at some point. Is the J in Jose silent? No, it's a Jota, so it's not silent. I don't grocery shop at Tim Hortons. Please don't do your Canadian hate crimes here. How much orange soda would it take to get you to make a Keenan and Kel video? There isn't enough in the world because I don't like orange soda. You'd have to send me some money or something. But yeah. Okay, on the pop culture side of your content, would you ever consider designing women? Maybe. The way I select my subjects for the media analysis stuff is that I put up a poll. So the idea of I look to see what people want to see the most, and then I'll have like the top 5 suggestions up there, and whatever wins is whatever wins. I do what the people ask me to do, basically. So my next sitcom retrospective is actually sort of a departure since it's a collab. We sort of wanted to do something we both wanted to do. So it's not from the poll results, but the one that comes after that is a highly voted on and requested show. But so there won't be another poll for a couple of months, but keep looking at the community page, my Twitter. I will announce when I'm taking nominations for the next show. So no worries there. Have I heard of Alden's Ring? I don't know what Alden's Ring is, if that's different from Elden's Ring. Would you ever do a Frasier retrospective as a sequel to the Cheers one? That is going to happen eventually. Part of the reason I hesitated from doing Frasier right after Cheers is because it was a nightmare getting that Frasier or the Cheers video online. It's distributed by CBS Viacom, who's very protective of their copyrights. So that's why I'm kind of reluctant, because Frasier's a big series, and then having to go through all the pain of like copyright claims to get it online, I feel like I'm going to need a lot of strength to get through that moment. Can someone explain a good faith argument against Sam Cedar? I know people call him a shitlib, but is there an actual substantive critique? I don't know. Someone else will need to do a better job than me. Maybe that he's more focused on structural rather than ideological stuff, but I don't think there's that's like not a good critique to me. That's, we need people who understand structure and process. But yeah, I don't know. I think he's a voice worth listening to. Pancakes or waffles? Ooh, tough question. Generally waffles, but they're both good. Um, no one guess what the next shows are going to be. Don't guess Saved by the Bell, Seinfeld, or Friends. You'll find out when you find out. And I feel like someone at least has learned what the next one is going to be. Had a friend who got pretty deep into Herbalife and left our friend group because we wouldn't want to take the opportunity, her opportunity, joining her downline. I'm sorry to hear that, Jumpman, Hammerman. That really sucks. I'm really lucky. I think I don't have a friend who's fallen down that pit hole, but I nearly did. So it could happen to anyone. Let's see. Aeration helps your soil health and makes your grass grow faster and thicker. It's a bit expensive heavy. Answer to literally what the worms already do for you. That's probably true. I don't know, like, these companies would make these things if they were all a scam, but I don't know. Companies have scammed people before. Good faith critique. He pauses the clips. He does pause clips a lot, doesn't he? I do that a lot too, but it's more natural because I don't have to say pause it. I just pause the video, don't I? Oh yeah, some of these companies, like Herbalife that sponsor big sports teams, gives the appearance of them seeming legitimate, it's very scummy, and it's a problem because a lot of these places present themselves as legitimate when they absolutely aren't. Okay, what else? Favorite anime? Oh no, wait, someone else asked this first. I'll get to the anime question later. What explanation are you looking? Oh wait, that's someone else. Favorite anime is Nana, Nana. Look it up. Let your life be changed. It's the best. Yes, I did wash my. Oh my God, you think I wouldn't wash my hands? I'm sorry you didn't hear that. My hands are smell like a dewy meadow now. I guess my sink is quieter than my toilet, but there we go. When I finish SMT5, will you make any content about it? Probably not. I'm enjoying it, but I don't make many video game videos. And I feel like if I need to make a video game video, I should capture the footage, and it's like, oh, that's a lot of work. Or I don't know if anyone knows anyone who has a lot of footage that will let me use it. Sure, but like I'm not making a video on SMT5, unfortunately. But it's a good game though. Definitely recommend it. Nana, the music one. Yes, it's about two girls named Nana who become roommates. One of them is a musician. The other one is just very cool and nice. I don't know what talentless Nana is. That's something else? Not something I've ever seen. The manga is good too. It is good. I'm so annoyed that the Nana series is unfinished. And if you don't understand why I like this, you don't even know who I am. Oh, look, we got spam here. Time to do one of those. There we go. How many angry Canadian geese can I take in a fight? I would never fight geese, like geese are our friends. When did you think you'd be a sitcom deep dive guy? I never thought that would happen. When I made that Roseanne video, it was like such a random thing for me to do, and the fact that it blew up was very unexpected. Very appreciated though. I thought it was really cool. And I'm glad to be doing it. They're the most fun videos to make, and part of me wishes that was all I was doing, but also part of me thinks that the response stuff, the political stuff is important. Particularly the way I do it. I feel like not a lot of people do things the way I do it anymore. It used to be more common a few years ago, and the space has sort of changed since then. And yeah, like someone that's saying that have I been approached by MLM recruiters in the wild? No, I feel like I don't have that sense of vulnerability about me. Maybe I'm just too old for them to care about, which I'm fine with that. Although I hate when they're targeting anyone, really. Someone asked, is Malcolm in the Middle a sitcom? Like, yes. Unequivocally, yes. Someone said that the Roseanne video came out on April 1st, and I thought it was an April Fool's video. That's true. I released it on that day, not realizing it was April Fool's Day. It had been sitting on my computer for months, and I was just like, oh, do I want to release this? And I was like, screw it. I'll put it out today. And then I realized it was April Fool's Day, and all the comments were like, "Is this a joke?" And I realized my timing could have been a bit better, a bit better. But it worked out anyway, didn't it? Jet, do you have a favorite video game console? The Super Nintendo, without a doubt, is my favorite console of all time. So many great games. Although I gotta say, I've been enjoying my PS4 a lot, and the Switch. So I don't know, these new consoles are pretty good. But the Super NES is my sentimental favorite. Have I ever been approached by an MCN? If you mean multi-channel network, yes, I have. I have not signed with any of them, though. I have no interest in that. An agency, I guess, would be something I would consider, but I like doing things on my own. I like not having to be attached to any of that sort of thing. Okay, I still know you as a right-wing watcher primarily. How does that stuff feel like a reward to you? Like, I feel awful, even hate watching Tucker Carlson. I like learning about the misinformation they put out there. I feel like when I have to dive into stuff, I learn more about the world by learning about how people are wrong about it. And I like sharing that information. I think it's important that people can have the tools to debunk that stuff, because it's very pernicious and pervasive. And yeah, I just like being able to push back on it. And I think it's a valuable service. And it's one part of a broader branch of content. If that was all I was doing, I'd probably feel less fulfilled, though. But the fact that it's part that I can go run off and do sitcom videos and still have those do well as well, makes me feel like I have a balanced approach to creating content that makes it feel, a little fresh. Favorite band? Right now, I really like Bandmaid, which is that Japanese band where they dress up as maids, and I was like, oh, this is a weird novelty thing, but I listen to their music and it's really good. So that's fun. Maloj Stoy. I don't know if I said that right. I am noticing you now. I hope you feel noticed. Is Amway an MLM? I think so. I haven't looked into Amway specifically, but I feel like that name evokes an MLM memory from me. Have I played Binding on Switch yet? No, I have not. I'm not even sure what that is. All right, let's see more of these questions. Why are we staring at lawnmowers? Good question. What do you guys want to stare at? Like, I don't know. Let's stare at something very cool. Like, hey, my image isn't the top one, but whatever. We're gonna go to my channel. That's what we'll look at. That's what's up. That's what's something cool. Like, you're looking at my channel by watching a video on my channel. Isn't that cool? Someone thinks, let's see. How do your parents like your videos? They don't. They don't even know they exist. I sort of keep that part private, I guess. Yeah. As far as I know, they've never seen my videos. Someone asked, do I prefer cats or dogs? All animals are beautiful, okay? Don't make this an either or situation. I would adopt a cat or a dog. I'd probably adopt a cat only because that better fits my living situation right now. But a dog would be great too. But I have no pets at the moment, sadly. I am not so blessed. Have I heard of Kiani? A relative got into distributing it and it gave me MLM vibes. I've not heard of Kiani, but if it gives you MLM vibes, steer clear generally. The Maid Band. Yeah, Bandmaid is the Maid Band. Okay, best NES, or I wouldn't say Chrono Trigger actually. What is my favorite Super Nintendo game? That's a good question. Maybe Final Fantasy VI. But A Link to the Past is really good. Lots of good ones. Do any of your IRLs know about your channel? Yeah, I have several friends who are aware of my channel, and some who watch, some who make me feel weird by watching. And by people who make me feel weird, I mean one specific friend who I'm not going to say what they told me about my channel, but I was just like, watch my channel less. They were watching it too much. When someone says, like, I feel like I know you more through your channel than I do in real life, I'm like, please stop watching and let's hang out because we're friends, and that's wrong. What is the favorite thing I learned about a show I reviewed? Ooh. My next My next video will have a shocking revelation about a show that I'm covering. I was floored when I found this out. It's going to be a fact at the very end about one of the performers on the show that I think everyone is going to be like, "What?" Unless they already knew it. Because if they already knew it, they're going to be like, "Oh yeah, I'm ready for that revelation." So get ready for the next video because that's going to have a bomb in it. Well, not a bomb. It's nothing bad. It's just someone took a turn in their lives that was unexpected. Do I have any channel recommendations? If you look what I'm subscribed to, most of those are pretty solid recommendations. Someone pointed out I should update that list because there are a couple of people on there who maybe shouldn't be. I did just go through it like an hour ago and unsubbed from a few channels, but those are some good channels. Yeah. Someone asked if I can subscribe. I can't subscribe to myself because this is a private browser. So that's why you're seeing the subscribe button show up. Call Michelle 999. Yeah, I'm not going to tell you what he said, but then immediately tells them what they said. Well, I didn't quote them. I was actually thinking I should protect their identity more than what they said. Yeah, that's the choice I made in that moment. You're right, though. I totally contradicted myself. You get the internet points, Windows 95. It's about time Windows 95 got some respect on the internet, right? Okay. What questions do people have? You've got access to me now. And we're not going to do anything fun or special. We're just vibing now. I don't know if anyone can think of a thing we can watch or whatever, I guess maybe. But right now, I'm happy to just answer questions and finish out the rest of the stream in a vibe. All the planned stuff is done. We're all sort of going wild now. Do you have any optimism about left-wing politics? I feel like we have to be optimistic or hopeful. Otherwise, the alternative is despair, and we don't have time for despair. Celebrate wins where you can get them. And we do have them on occasion. Tom Cruise is one of the biggest financial supporters of Scientology. That's not a question, but yeah, he is. Or is he? I don't know. They have a lot of real estate holdings in Scientology, actually. I think that's where most of their money comes from at this point. Okay. Just going through this chat to find some questions. Any chance of a Scrubs retrospective? If people vote for it, but at the moment I have no plans for that. Have you heard of Going Goblin, Jose? It sounds vaguely familiar, but I don't know what that is. What's your favorite video you've ever made? Probably the retrospective on The Cosby Show. I feel like that's one where I summoned a lot of my strength and power to create something good. Mostly because I felt like I explored an issue I didn't know a lot of, and the feedback is very positive, and it was so much effort, and I was so glad that it turned out the way it did, because sometimes you can put a lot of effort into something and it won't turn out so great, sadly. Someone asked, any opinions on 90s Nick movie Good Burger? Never seen it. Do I ever go out and get out into nature? As often as I can. Last night I was out in nature, so that was pretty good. While my tweet was blowing up, I was exploring the natural world. Someone asked, why are we all subscribed to the same channels? Weird. Maybe we're the same person, Panoptical Dreams. Maybe this is all one of your dreams right now, and you're going to wake up and realize that you're me. Wouldn't that be freaky? Why am I a bird? That was just a drawing I had done when a few weeks before I started a channel. I noticed it was on my computer, and I was like, this looks good. So I'm just going to use this picture of a blue jay and make it my my icon, because I thought it was cute, but no special deep reason. I just like the look of it. And someone just said, open up a spot on your Patreon for amounts to get paid directly for something. Like, I don't even know what that means. Like a direct one-off payment, that sort of thing. I mean, you can always make a donation of a custom amount to my Patreon and then cancel it immediately, because I'll still get it for that month, if that's what you're talking about. Like, that is a thing you can do. I don't know, can you take direct, like, one-time donations on Patreon? I don't even know. But if you can, I would make that real. How Okay. How do YouTubers ask each other to voice over for their videos? I think that's what you're asking there. Um, Usually just DM someone. That's how it's always been for me. Someone will just sort of slide in my DMs, be like, "Can you do a voice?" And that's how I do it for other people. Usually we're already following each other. That's how you know someone's probably receptive. If they follow you on Twitter, they're probably willing to do a voice for you because it's such an easy thing to do for people. Um, Favorite animal? I love all animals. I don't like playing favorites. I've always been partial to tigers. Um, but yeah, all animals are great. Do you do a lot of art? Not nearly as much as I used to. I used to draw a lot. I have like a few notebooks filled with drawings that show my. I tried teaching myself to draw like 5 or 6 years ago, and it went really well for a few years, but I have not kept it up much, sadly. Uh, I'd like to get back to it. I occasionally will sit down and draw something for people. I remember I drew a picture for my friend on his wedding, and he really liked it. That was nice. It was a good drawing too. His wife made him repeatedly thank me for it, which was kind of funny and cute. She liked it too, I guess. Any future possibilities of an anime retrospective? That is incredibly unlikely right now because we don't know how this new law in Japan that gives companies greater powers to shut down YouTube channels is going to shake out. A lot of anime YouTubers are worried about that, so I'm kind of holding up and seeing how things shake up there. I don't want to put all my effort into an anime video and have it taken down and have to pay a fine. Whatever do on a retrospective on pro-military shows like JAG, not JAG specifically, but yeah, I'm open to that concept. I do want to branch out into more like dramas, not just sitcoms. That's something I'd like to do in 2 videos, I guess. So the next sitcom retrospective and the one after that, I'm going to try and get at least 1 or 2 dramas in the poll. So when people can vote, if that's the kind of video they want to see, they should vote for one of those options. But dramas are really long. Even if it's like half the length episode-wise of a sitcom, the episodes are twice as long. So anything that runs for an extended period of time might be tough to do because that's a lot of TV to watch. Someone asked, do I watch much YouTube? Yeah, I spend more time listening to YouTube than watching it though. I don't know, the visual element's never been a big thing for me. Maybe that's why I don't do a ton of visual stuff in my own videos. It's just how I relate to YouTube as a platform. How do I deal with YouTube copyright issues? It depends on who's making the claim. Usually I have a letter written up by a lawyer that I use that's been pretty effective. I just make my case. Some distributors will listen to you and be very receptive. Others will not. Someone asked, I escaped a Marxism, Leninism, Maoism cult. Watch the beginning of the stream, Dem Shikigori. You'll get the real story there. Is YouTube my main job? It is not, unfortunately. I'd like it to be, and I'm getting closer all the time, but not quite there yet. Someone asked if you had to kick a cat or a dog into the lever that controls the switch to change the path of a trolley that run over 6 people, what would you choose? I would throw myself at the switch. You can't make me kick a cat or a dog. Someone asking new law in Japan. It's like some copyright thing where if they can force a channel to take down all their videos if it's piece of media from Japan. Look up anime YouTubers talking about this. They're more informed on it than I am, but it's definitely creating a chilling effect. So yeah, it's very unfortunate. I just skipped ahead. Okay, if I miss a question, I have no problem if you ask it more than once. When are we getting a critical analysis of El Chavo del Ocho? Never. I don't know what that is. Wait, do I pay for you? I don't pay for YouTube Premium. I don't have YouTube Premium at all. But if you do have YouTube Premium, you would have to pay for it. What is my opinion of YouTube drama channels that cover the rise and fall? You know, I have a lot of thoughts about that, actually. I've been watching a lot of those videos recently, and some of them give me bad vibes. And I think YouTubers writing the history on YouTube creates a bias towards the platform and popular narratives surrounding the platform. Like, I don't think I'm a good person to do that. I don't think any YouTuber really is, and I've seen some decent attempts. But Yeah, I'm not a huge fan. Um, because I think it's when you're documenting something, it's always good to have some distance. Right now, they just seem like they're very effective and popular on YouTube because if someone is interested in a topic, it's probably going to be someone who's on YouTube to begin with. That's why whenever I do a video about another like political YouTuber, it's going to do a lot better than, I don't know, a radio show host or something, right? Unless they're really popular. But yeah, I haven't really sorted out my thoughts on them, but I'm not super keen on them. Someone asked if my CIA handler is single. I will transmit that message tonight. Maybe there will be a Melrose Place retrospective down the line. Possibly. I never really watched one of those. It might be interesting to watch one of those things. Um, okay, hold on. I'm gonna sip some water here. Give me a moment, please. Is a Cinema Wins collab coming someday? I don't watch that channel. I like that you think that we could be friends, though. Sure. And what's up, Red Team Review? It's always cool to see a check mark, cool check marks hanging out there. Dumb overasked question, but I assume you're still a leftist, not just an MLM. Yes, I am not a Marxist, Leninist, Maoist. I am just good old leftist. Question for a Canadian: are you sorry? I'm not. I'm not sorry. I'm sorry. That's what I am. Would I do an unauthorized biography of Ben Shapiro or Matt Walsh? God, no. You know how much work it takes to make a proper biography? That sounds miserable, having to go that deep into those two guys. How am I today? I'm doing good. I like this stream. We're having a nice vibe and people are still chilling. Yeah, that's cool. I'm doing good. Thanks for asking, Nightgenix. Not enough people ask that. And not enough people answer that question, honestly, I find. Okay, I feel bad because some people have like follow-ups to questions I answered like several minutes ago. Because I'm trying to catch up on this chat. Uh, I'm going for Burger King after the stream. What should I get? I haven't tried their like fake meat burger, but that's what I would get because I don't eat meat. I haven't tried the Burger King one though. I always just go to A&W because A&W in Canada is actually good. Not I've heard the American one's bad, but I've never been to that one. Um, have I ever watched the original Mobile Suit Gundam? I have. I didn't really care for it. I'm not a fan of most of Tomino's Gundams in general. They're very old fashioned. When the nukes begin to fall, what do you feel is the best industry to transition to after the end of the world? Gas masks, maybe? Anything to keep the nuclear fallout from being inhaled? That seems like a good one. Uh, have I ever been called a hoser? Not because I'm Canadian, but because of my name. That was a nickname I had when I was like in grade 2. Like one person called me that though, so whatever. Do I stand up or sit down? Oof, don't ask that question. You don't want to know. I'd pay $500 for an OC retrospective. I will happily say right now that patrons get double votes in suggesting nominations for the next sitcom or the next TV show retrospective. So if you were to, I count up, like I have a tally of all the nominations I see on my community page, Twitter, Patreon, and then I literally count to see which ones are the most popular. And the patrons get double votes, so you know that's as close as you get to influencing what gets chosen because everyone's vote at the end is the same. Am I vegetarian or vegan? I am currently vegetarian. I'm considering vegan, but for now, just vegetarian. People say the Impossible Whopper is better than normal. I should try it. There's one of those near here. A&W in Canada is an entirely different company. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. And yeah, back when I ate meat, that was usually where I would go if I was going to eat a burger, a beef burger. If I was going to eat like a chicken burger, I'd go to Wendy's for their spicy crispy chicken. Spicy crispy chicken, is that what it's called? Been a while. Star Trek or Star Wars? Star Trek all the way. Star Wars is fine, but come on, Star Trek. Come on. I haven't watched Discovery yet. I'm so looking forward to it. I haven't watched the new season at all. And then there's Picard. Oh, I love Picard. And I'm like unapologetically a fan of all the new Star Treks. I know some people like complain, but they're so good. I actually almost made a video responding to that Plinkett review of Picard because it was so bad, but it like I didn't have time, and I was just like, do I really want to get into a beef over this? Like, I have other things to do. But like, I hated their review of Picard because I genuinely thought that was a great series, and I'm looking forward to season 2. Um, do I like shows I cover? Would you cover one I don't enjoy? I like them all for what they are, but I'm not a fan of almost any of the shows I've covered, to be honest. Uh, but I love digging into them and learning about them and having a reading on them. I enjoy them a lot in that sense. Um, and I would absolutely cover a show that I like. The show that's coming up next is one I thought I would never cover because I thought I wouldn't enjoy it, but then I watched it and parts of it I didn't like, but parts I actually were surprisingly good. So there we go. Best Weird Al song. I don't listen to Weird Al. What's my favorite fast food place? I don't get much fast food these days, but probably A&W actually, because they got that sweet Beyond Burger, uh, and it's pretty good. Did I have to watch much of All in the Family as a reference point? I watched a bit of All in the Family, but not too much. Married with Children is like 260 episodes, so I just focused on that. I only have so much time, sadly. I can't always go back. Although if I did, I would probably do a comparative one. Thoughts on Lower Decks? I loved it. It was very different, but I like that Star Trek can be different. I like exploring different ways of engaging with this universe, I guess. I can see why. Like, if you're not a fan, that's totally fine. Clay3613, like, you got to watch what you want to watch. Don't let me feel impressed. Uh, be the authoritative voice. I never want to be that guy. And yeah, I don't think RLM would see it as a beef. I was sort of joking there. But it's like, I don't know. I just thought it was such a bad review. They just had no real attempt to engage with things, and it was lazy top to bottom. Uh, I might make a video on the new Star Treks when they're done. I like looking at shows in their totality. Do I think Avery will appear in Picard, the Cisco? Probably not. It would be. I think we would see more TNG characters, wouldn't we? Although we did see Seven of Nine, so who knows? I don't know. I feel like James Avery, or is it not James Avery? God, what's his name? James Avery is is Uncle Phil. Uh, Avery Brooks, is that it? Anyway, I feel like he's done with Star Trek and he's ready to move on. Would I cover Star Wars series? I would have nothing good to say, so probably not. Although The Mandalorian's all right. I probably won't bother with season 3 though. I'm kind of done with that show. Do I have a favorite decorative cactus? No, I don't. That's very random. Um, Someone wondering why I didn't enjoy the Cosby Show. That's actually the show I probably enjoyed the least. It just wasn't my jam. Like I enjoyed it for what it was, but I was more interested in the conversation around the Cosby Show than the Cosby Show itself. Um, yeah, it's of its time. Why do people have beef with vegans? I don't know if that's a pun, but I think there's this ideal of vegans being very militant and obnoxious, when to be honest, every vegan I've met is very chill and nice. So people need to meet some real vegans out there. How do I take notes on shows? How do you keep track of the notes? I showed that on stream one time. I have a big Word document, and what basically I look for a list of the shows on Wikipedia. So I have like every episode with a brief synopsis, and I sort of copy that into a big Word document. And then when I watch the show, I make timestamps of various things that catch my notice and attention. And then after every episode, I'll write a little summary of my thoughts on the episode. So when it comes down to put it together, I have like notes on every single episode, timestamps for relevant pieces of information. It's a very involved process, but it's very effective, and it works well when I'm putting together my scripts. Since I'm Canadian, what are your thoughts when Americans say we shouldn't adopt your healthcare system because of long wait times? Long wait times are only for like non-essential surgeries. That's a big myth. If you go, like, I could get a doctor's appointment for Monday if I said I really needed it. My doctor's pretty nice. Yeah, I think people who are worried about wait times are are silly. They just don't understand that not even if you did have to wait for a surgery, that's because other people who needed it first. So if you take it from that perspective, it's like, oh no, I don't want to wait for surgery just because what, a poor person needs it? Like that really puts it in perspective, doesn't it? And there are wait times that have nothing to do with the healthcare system. I know someone who was on a wait list for an organ transplant just because they didn't have the organ available. So yeah, wait lists still exist everywhere, right? Like it's such a bogus point. Okay, let's find some more questions here. Oh yeah, and insisted if you're looking for that stream, it was the one where I talk about sitcoms, probably. They're very long. I feel because I only had it on screen for a couple of minutes, but you'll see an example of what my notes look like. That would be a good one. Do I stream on Twitch? I have a Twitch account, but I never stream on there. I should, but like you need especially like you have to pay for software to stream on both, and then I have to pay attention to two chats, and I'm struggling to keep up with this one. So this is fine. This is fine for now. What is the why is someone asking me, Basil, why are you asking me about these questions about cactus pot and pottery? I don't know what you're talking about. Um, okay, I'm trying to catch up. Sorry if I miss your questions. Like I said, ask them again. But if I made a macaroni art of the Blue Jay, would you want it? I mean, I might put a picture of it up on Twitter, but please don't send it to me. Not that you'd have a means to. What genre and tone do you gravitate most towards? I like a bit of everything, to be honest. God, like I have a very eclectic like style of watching things. Like the last thing I literally just finished watching today was a Spanish series called Carlos Rey Emperador, which is the emperor king. It's about the life of Carlos V, who was the king of Spain in the 16th century, who oversaw the expansion of the empire. He was the Holy Roman Emperor as well as the king of a bunch of places. It was a pretty good series. I'd been meaning to watch it for years because I really liked the series Isabel, which was about Queen Isabel of Castile, her marriage basically unified the kingdoms into Spain. And I thought, I don't know, I love historical pieces, I guess. And it's very interesting to see how a Spanish drama approaches certain issues compared to another drama. Like one thing, I almost made a video. I don't think anyone would watch the video, but I'll go over my observations here. One of the interesting thing about the series is that let me answer a few questions quick. I'm good. I don't need toast. Thank you for the offer. And the song is sung by my friend Dana. All right. So one of the interesting things about the series, it's set in the 16th century, and if anyone's watched The Tudors, there's some overlap there with Henry VIII because his first wife, Catherine of Aragon, was Carlos's aunt. And if you're watching The Tudors, Carlos actually shows up in like episode 2 or something, and he has this rivalry with Henry VIII, mostly with the King of France at the time. Carlos and Francois hated each other. It was fascinating. Constantly going to war. Very interesting stuff. But if you look at the story of Henry VIII's whole, his divorce, his stuff with Anne Boleyn, that's very well known. But you see in The Tudors, it's presented as like this very sensual, passionate intrigue. He really wanted to hook up with Anne Boleyn, and she was manipulated by her father because they wanted to seize power, and it was very much centered around like the English monarchy. That whole story is more of a subplot in the Carlos series, but for him, it's more like Henry VIII really hated the Spanish because Carlos and he couldn't agree on a deal, and they thought one or the other betrayed each other. So he took it on his wife because he couldn't trust Spanish people anymore. And it's so much more focused on that aspect. Like Anne Boleyn appears like twice, and she has like one line in the whole series in the Carlos series. Whereas in The Tudors, she's like a whole character, right? Isn't that wild? And it just shows how like history through different lenses of different countries is so self-absorbed and so centered on like English court intrigue on one side and like Spanish international affairs on the other. It's so interesting. And I like that aspect of historical drama sometime. Also, it had a very interesting take on colonialism, and it tried so hard to leave the horrible stuff unsaid. It's a fascinating show. Uh, okay, let's go back to questions. For the amount of Spanish you know how to speak, is it Iberian or American? Uh, it'd be more Iberian, I guess. Castellano, which I sort of have an accent, but I'm very bad at it, and I think people would hang their heads in shame. Have I watched Breaking Bad or Rec also? I've seen both of them. They're good shows. Any non-sitcom you want to do a deep dive on? Maybe something sci-fi? I would consider it. Honestly, if I might put a dark horse onto the poll. Like I'll instead of taking 5 suggestions from the people, I might take 4 and then put a 5th show that I just want to be there. And if I do that, I'd probably put Xena Warrior Princess because I think that would be a really cool video. And it's been so long, I don't want to watch it again. Someone asked, am I a fan of fantasy and or science fiction? Yes, definitely. I'm very excited to find out that Brandon Sanderson has a bunch of like secret books he's been working on that are coming out this year, so I'm probably going to check those out. And as for sci-fi, the last bit of sci-fi I read was Red Rising, which was pretty good. I read the first 3 books in that. Yeah, someone said Americano or Castellano? Castellano. What about a nice tea cake? Maybe later. Maybe later. Did I watch Wolf Hall? I have not seen that. Maybe I'll check it out. Instead of, do I have an opinion on socialist journalist Nathan J. Robinson? Didn't he try to crush a union or something? I don't know what's up there. I'm not. I don't really read his stuff, or I'm super informed. But I've heard bad things and I've heard good things. So not much of an informed opinion. I am sad to inform you all. Have I ever watched a vampire series called The Legacy? No, but I like vampires. It's hard to find good things with vampires in them because most of them, I'm trying to avoid a pun, most of them are bad. But I'll watch them anyway. Like, what is one of the good vampire shows? Like What We Do in the Shadows, I guess. I haven't watched the show, but I love the movie. Do I have a favorite brand of chocolate? Probably Cadbury chocolate. That's pretty good. Someone asked I'm from Toronto. Well, if you look me up on Twitter, you will see I am from Toronto. I've not seen the Netflix series The Vikings. I might at some point. I do really like Vinland Saga. That's an anime about Vikings. Very good, though. It's a fantastic series. It makes me want to see more about the Danish conquest of England. Okay, now it's all speeding up. If you're somewhat interested, someone just suggested if I'd seen or read Vinland Saga. I've watched the first episode of the anime and I've read the manga. Very good. Love it. Love Vinland Saga. If Nana's my favorite anime, Vinland Saga is it's like second or third maybe. It's so good. Yeah, favorite Windows-based operating system. Windows NT. Let's light things on fire with that. Okay. Someone said someone's trying to drum up upvotes. You don't gotta upvote. It's fine. Have I seen Infinity Train? I have not. I don't know what that is. Sounds long though. Get it? That's a pun. Do I take naps? I try not to because I feel like it throws off my sleeping schedule. But I've taken the occasional siesta when I'm wiped. There have been days where I've pushed myself too far. But I've taken hold of my sleep schedule, so I feel like I'm got a good handle on that these days. I've ever watched the HBO show Oz. I've never done that. I've wanted to. I'm curious, but no, I've not watched Oz. Simple as that. Can I downvote? Vote your conscience, please. No strategic voting in this YouTube video. Maybe we are the same person. Panoptical dreams. I'm telling you, you're gonna wake up one day, and you're gonna be very disappointed when you find out you're me. It's not as much fun as you think. Favorite poet? Ooh, interesting question. That's so tough. I want to say Shelley, even though I know it's like very sentimental stuff. But I'll tell you one of my favorite exchanges between poets, because I don't think I could narrow it down to 2 people. God, something Rochester. It's like Earl of Rochester, Duke of Rochester. He had a poem called in the imperfect enjoyment, which was so funny because it's about him like hooking up with a woman and how it's like, oh, I remember one line from it is like, uh, her tongue lashed love's lesser lightning, and to my thoughts conveyed that I shall prepare to throw the all dissolving lightning bolt below. Uh, Probably one of my favorites lines about sex in poetry because it's so self-absorbed. It's so like I'm having sex with this woman, but she's kind of a slut, and I'm disappointed. And it's just such a gross poem. And then there was a follow-up to it by I believe it was Afra Ben, who wrote a poem in response from the woman's perspective. His poem was called The Imperfect Enjoyment, and hers was just called The Disappointment. She describes her lover as like this gross dude drooling on her like a dog, and he is more beast than man. And it was a really great clapback. Very good 17th century poetry. I know that's why everyone was tuning in. It's like, when are we gonna get to talk to the 17th century poetry? Or was it 18th century? I don't know. When was Afra Ben around? She also wrote a really great book called Oronuku, which I really enjoyed. We're getting deep into the weeds in English literature here, though. Oh, William Blake is really good too. Damn. Tiger Tigers, great poem. Would I rather twerk or twit on Twitch or Twitch on twerk? I would rather twerk on Twitch probably because I don't think I would like to take twerk. I don't know what that would do. 18th. Thank you for correcting me, Windows 95. It's been a while since I studied that old-fashioned literature. And what's this? Am I caught up in the chat? Have you all run out of questions for me? Are you all getting tired? Are we getting ready to call it a night, or a day, or a stream? I feel like sun's getting a bit low. Do I like house music? It's fine. I have no particular affinity for it. Let's say we'll go on for till the end of the hour because I like to end things on the hour. We'll go another 20 minutes, right? How about, does that feel good? Or do people like want me to go? How do I feel about Friedrich Nietzsche being labeled as a depressed loser who only talks about doom and gloom? I don't know. I haven't read much Nietzsche, so I don't have strong feelings about that. I'm more disappointed that everyone thinks that about Edgar Allan Poe when he wrote a lot of really funny short stories. I love the story about I can't remember what it's called, but it's a woman going up a clock tower and she's describing how she died in a clock tower. And it's like, who's writing this story? But that was a really fun story. Do you know what's the difference between a duck and what? Finish that. Favorite Greek myth? Ooh, interesting question. There's a lot of good ones. I've always been partial to Hercules or Heracles, however you want to name it, even though he's kind of a jerk. So like the labors of Hercules probably might be the one. Not the most inspired choice, but yeah, I do like that one. Any interesting phobias? I have a fun fear of space. I don't have any interesting phobias. I do feel a call to the void. That's kind of like a phobia. Whenever I'm in a high spice, I sometimes feel the urge to jump. I never have. I'm not suicidal. Please don't get it confused. But like the idea of the call of the void is surprisingly common amongst people in different ways. So me, it's jumping off of high places. Although I feel like I've overcome that in recent years. But yeah, there's one. What is my favorite Arnold movie? Terminator 2 probably. A lot of stinkers in Arnold Schwarzenegger's catalog. Have you read any Berserk? I have read the first couple of arcs on Berserk and I've kind of taken a break, but I'd like to get back to it. It's pretty good. I don't love it the way other people love it, but I do enjoy it. It's pretty good. Thoughts on the new Harry Potter game? I'm not a Harry Potter fan. I have zero thoughts on it. I'm not going to play the game, not going to read the books. I'm not like taking a stand against J.K. Rowling, even though she is terrible. I've literally never been into Harry Potter, and I actually feel awkward calling out J.K. Rowling too much or saying I'm never going to read a Harry Potter thing because like I was never going to do it anyway. It feels like stolen valor. But yeah, she does suck, and I stand in full solidarity with all trans people. And yeah, I'm glad I don't have to worry about wanting to play a game Have I ever read any Chinese philosophy? No, I have not. I probably should check it out more though. I feel like I'm very ignorant of a lot of Eastern history, philosophy in general. I mean, a little Confucius, I guess, but I feel like pretty basic. Uh, do you have any animated shows you would do a retrospective on? If not, did you have anything in mind for the next one? I haven't really thought of that. I'm open to it. I bet I sort of want to do a King of the Hill one, but it's a very long show, and I know a lot of people said they want to do it, so I want to give people space to cover it and not hog all the good shows, but King of the Hill would be fun to do. Okay. Jingle all the way. Uh, okay. I've not seen Sean's video on Harry Potter. Like I said, I have zero interest in Harry Potter. Even like criticisms of it, it's kind of like whatever. It's just not for me. Do I meditate? Not really. I've tried it. I don't think I have the discipline for it. Have I heard of Big Joel? Yeah, I have been compared to Big Joel many times, or I was mostly when I started YouTube. People said I sounded like him, but I feel like I've distanced myself in a way from the comparisons now. I've seen his videos. Some of them are pretty good. Not watched all those videos, but I've enjoyed the ones I have. I don't know what Frodo's saying about not canceling J.K. Rowling. I'm happy to cancel her. If there's a petition going around, I will sign on to the cancel of J.K. Rowling. And someone's saying King of the Hill has been done. I'm not surprised. It's a popular series. Like, has it been done well, I think is the real question. Because I've seen some videos covering various shows that, when I first started YouTube, I probably would not have covered certain shows because people have made videos about them. But now I feel like I've carved out my own space well enough that I can provide my own take and still have some room to sort of have it stand on its own and not just be thought of as the lesser version of another person's video. Wait, do I communicate with other YouTubers about who covers who? No, that never happens, sadly. If someone is like, if that information comes to me, because like we do talk about our upcoming videos, some of us, and someone will say like, oh, I heard so-and-so was doing this. I'd have reached out to people and been like, are you covering this? Or like, because if you're covering it, I will step back. There have been a few conversations like that. It would be cool if we had like a place where we could meet and talk about things like that. But I don't know, people probably be concerned about ideas getting ripped off or something. So it would be tough to do. It's mostly like people who are friends will communicate with one another. How about a video on the conservative audience comedy of Jeff Dunham? Oh my God, I don't know if I could make it through watching Jeff Dunham. He is so bad. Does anyone still watch his stuff? Like, feels like he's vanished over the years, but he is just so odious. He's such a bad comedian. If you roll a 6-sided die 3 times, what are the odds of getting 6 at least once? I don't want to do any probability math here. I don't know. 1 in 3. No, 1 in 2. I think, if I read that question properly. It's 1 out of 6 times 3, I believe. But correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not great at math. I'm gonna show up for Be Done Well if it's not done by Jose. I gotta say, a couple of my videos do feel a bit definitive, but really my videos I hope are meant as like introductions, because I want people to sort of see them as a space being opened up to explore. And it's actually how I want to take those videos in the future. I have an interesting idea for where I want to take those videos that I'll probably share at a later date because it's still just an idea. Actually, I'll share it at the end of this video. No, maybe share it now. I feel like I'm flitting about here, so let's just read some questions for now. Have I heard of Renegade Cat? No, I have not. Why do some people seem to support issues that are directly at odds with their own self-interests? I think people are easily distracted by bigotry and hatred and various other wedge issues that are unfortunately get people to vote against their own interests. See the working class voting against programs that would help them. I should say the white working class voting against programs that would help them if they're shown that would also help Black Americans. because, or disproportionately help Black Americans. That's a study that's, or a finding that I believe is pretty well documented though, but that's an example of how people vote against their own interests because of racism that they've been told to believe by the powers that be. Not in an organized way, it's just how these, structures orient themselves to preserve the people in power. I feel like I'm too tired to really give that subject justice and weight, or the nuance and detail it would deserve to be in this description. And we can already feel me fading, can't we? That's why I don't do a lot of streams. I can only do them for so long, and it's been nearly 3 hours. And there are people who do this for like 12 hours. These people are maniacs. Maybe they don't talk the whole time, I guess. Maybe they just play videos or something and occasionally chime in. But that's not how I want to do it. If you're here to see a Jose stream, I want to be here for the whole stream. Unless I'm forgetting to mute my mic and going to do something else in my apartment. Thank you for the compliment, Frederick Banks. That's so nice. Thank you very much. What else do we got here? You did a 19-hour stream window. Why? Oh no, Tina Jack V, this is not the finale of anything. It just was an image I found randomly. I made that thumbnail like an hour before going live. It's doesn't mean anything. It's my escape of the cult. I'm still making videos. I'm in the midst of making one as we speak. Well, not as we speak, but as of today, I've been working on the new video. So don't worry, we still got stuff coming. Have I read any William Carlos Williams? No, I have not. How come bidets are not more popular than they should be? I don't know. I think people feel weird about getting water squirted up their butt. But they're better than toilet paper, or so I've been told. I don't have a bidet, unfortunately. Oh, thank you so much, Sam Dermody. Oh, sorry, said your name wrong. That was really nice. The compliments do very much help. They brighten my day. I do read them, and honestly, when I started this, I didn't think I'd get the positive responses I've been getting from comments. I thought I would get like 1,000 subscribers if I was lucky. So the fact that I've done so much more and I've gotten so much positive feedback is very heartwarming, and I really appreciate it. And thank you for everyone here for watching, for participating. And I'm just gonna start gushing now, or I'll stop myself. No gushing. Let's talk about what I had alluded to a few minutes prior to what my next sitcom retrospectives are going to be like, or my TV show retrospectives. One thing I've been hoping to do is include more voices on them. And I don't mean to turn them into giant videos where it's like a mashup of me and other people. I like my videos as they are, and I want them to be the way they are. Maybe exploring form and theme a bit more. And but they're very much my own pieces of content. But I like the idea of other voices speaking to the subject, in this case, like the show I'm covering. So what I'm hoping to do in the future is open up this to a more collaborative type of thing where throughout the video, I'll drop little breadcrumbs leading you to other channels, ideally like smaller channels that maybe haven't gotten the attention they deserve. And they'll have their own videos talking about like whatever show I'm covering. Like for instance, there was a whole section I didn't cover in the Golden Girls because I didn't think I did a good job, to be honest. It was like 10 or 15 minutes that I cut out. Patrons can see it if you're really curious, but it touched on a lot of issues surrounding race and trans representation on the show, because there was actually a surprisingly good depiction of a trans character, a trans man in the Golden Girls. And I didn't include it in the video because I just didn't do it justice. Like I felt like I can't really speak to this in like a little 2-3 minutes. Dermody, sorry. I hope I said that right, Sam. Dermody. Okay, so, but yeah, I didn't think I could speak to these experiences well enough without doing a lot of research. Like the only reason I think my Cosby Show video does anything well at all when discussing something like race is because I did a lot of research, and that was the primary focus of the video. But I can't like bring in these topics in passing without having a lot of knowledge that I just don't have, which is why I cut out that section. But it would be great if I could just like, instead of like doing a poor job, take like 30 seconds out of my video to be like, oh, and you know, if you want to learn about this trans representation in the Golden Girls, you can check out this awesome trans YouTuber who made a video about it, and you know, someone get some eyeballs on their work and basically help elevate other people on this platform. And yeah, that's an idea I've had, and I just need to find the right people who want to do it and who I would be happy to associate with. I have a few people in mind. I just have to reach out to them at some point, and hopefully people will want to do it. For Joelle, you don't. Oh wait, first let me answer Andreas. I would consider doing a video on cartoons. Absolutely, no bias against them. And Joelle, who doesn't remember a trans character in Golden Girls, it was the episode where Blanche was suspected of sleeping with a politician that the girls or the ladies were campaigning for. And at the end of the whole time, you find out that this guy's got some deep, dark secret. And the whole time, Sophia's like, he's hiding something. I don't trust him. And the end, you find out that he wasn't sleeping with Blanche. Of course, you find out that he is actually trans. And what was nice about that depiction, even though the reveal isn't great, was that when Sophia comes out and is like, I knew there was something up with this guy, she's more surprised. What she sees in him is that he used to be, or that he's Italian, because he said he dead named himself and he had an Italian name. And he's like, he's an Italian. And I'm just like, that's so great. It could have been a really bad, like, transphobic joke, but it was like inverting it. It's like, she didn't suspect that this guy was trans. She suspected that he was a fellow Italian, you know, a paisan, a countryman, like someone part of her family. I think the subtext there is actually really sweet and nice. And they never misgender this character. I mean, there's like a scene where Rose is asking a lot of questions that are really like, okay, Rose. They're innocent questions, but they're like, okay, about body parts. It was generally a good depiction, I thought. But then again, like, I don't know, maybe there are people who can provide greater context on it than me. And it would be important to put that in the greater context of the show, because there were like transphobic jokes in the show, just like told in passing. And yeah, as Windows 95 just said, the reveal joke at the end is not a good one. It's the very common punchline for jokes about trans people in sitcoms in the 80s and 90s, which is just like, it's bad, right? It just is bad. It's a good depiction relative, right? Like the Married with Children presenting gay characters. It was like, for the time, it was good. But there we go. Oh yeah, Dorothy's brother Phil was a transvestite. That's true. That would have to be talked about as well. See, I totally forgot about that. That's why I would want someone who is more keenly connected and aware of those things. Because I feel like if you're watching the series, there are certain things you're going to be more likely to notice if it's referencing something that touches you directly. Like whenever anyone uses my name in a series, I feel like that's always a good chance. There's always a good chance that's going to make it into the video, because it's like, oh, that's my name, and that's just a jokey little thing. But when it relates to your identity, it's like, wow, you're more keen to do. You're more keen to that thing. Wow, I'm tired. It's been a stream, hasn't it? It's time to wind down, because I feel like I'm tired. Chat, you're tired. But we had a good time. 3 hours of talking. My voice is very sore. I'm so glad I don't have to record a video. I'm just editing for the next week or two, I guess. The current video, if you want a progress update, the first 40 minutes have been edited together, and I don't think I'm even quite halfway through. So next one's going to be a big boy. It's going to be a big boy. I'm looking forward to it, though. I hope people will get through the first bit because there's like, I don't know, some of the jokes didn't age particularly well. Not because they're like offensive, they're just kind of like cheesy sitcom jokes. But the show does get better as it goes along. That's my one concern right now. But we'll get to it. And someone asked if I like video editing. I do and I don't. It's, you know, it's a process. I'm not great at it. I wish my videos were better with a better editor, but you know, it is what it is. So yeah, we're winding down here. I've got my water that needs to be drank. I hope you all enjoyed the stream. I hope we had some fun. We learned about MLMs. We did a quickie debunk. We celebrated my tweet. Let's go back to that tweet for a moment. I want to know, like, how well is that tweet doing right now? Because when I left, it was like at 140,000, and I just want to pull it up because I'm curious. I'm curious, and I think it's funny. Here we go. Did it get to 150? I don't think it did. 146.9. Okay. Still. It's funny though, right? 146,900 likes. Good times. Good times. That's at the beginning of the stream. I talked about this tweet if you want a little more context and introspection into what it's like to have a tweet go viral. But hey, some people have their tweets go viral because they make thoughtful, insightful comments about the world. Mine went viral because I dunked on Tim Pool. I have zero regrets. And I hope no one has any regrets for coming to this stream. I want to thank you all once again for showing up. It was a fun time. And I will do this again in the future, I hope. I feel like I should get a guest on here at some point, but we'll see how that goes. I hope you can all turn out for the next one, and stay tuned for the next video. It'll be coming out as soon as I can. Goodbye, everyone.